Hello and welcome to a game that needs no grand introduction. The number one team in the land and defending national champion, Ohio State Buckeyes, come into town to face the number 15 Michigan Wolverines. We thank you for tuning in to the greatest rivalry in all of sport on WCBN-FM-Ann Arbor 88.3 and on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the game. Alongside Vihaan, Easwar, and Jaden Fode, I'm Ethan Sommers, welcoming you to the Big House, where 110,000 are packed in and ready for the maize and blue versus the scarlet and gray. Jaden, Vihaan, there's so much to unpack with this game, this rivalry, and what has happened in the past few seasons. And there's so much on the line in this year's edition of the game. And what a treat it is to be here with the two of you.
I mean, exactly like you said, there's so much on the line, and there's no place in the world I'd rather be right now than here at this game with you guys. I'm so excited, and I mean, there's so much to play for both of these teams, and I mean, everything goes out the window when these two teams play each other, so I think you can expect an all-around matchup. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, every year, it doesn't matter if these teams enter this matchup 11-0, they enter at 0-11. The success and failure of these two team seasons is always judged on this game. Whether you're a national champion, whether you're a Big Ten champion, whether you're sending 5 players to the NFL, beat Ohio State, beat Michigan, that is what legacies are judged off of. And this stadium, the biggest in North America, has been a cauldron of myth and legend, and is there time for it to bubble up and unleash yet another generation of heroes on either side?
Exactly right. Temperatures in the low 20s, some snow in the forecast. Supposed to come near the end of this one as the Go Blue M Club Supports You banner is up at midfield, awaiting the Michigan Wolverines, who will soon enter through the tunnel in just a few moments. But guys, so much on the line here just for this season, not even mentioning the rivalry and the history in the past few years, but for Ohio State, the number one seed, a trip to the Big Ten championship next week against Indiana. They are in a win and get in situation. On Michigan's side of things, it seems like they are a win and get into a playoff situation. They need some help from Oregon and Washington to make their trip to Indy. But there's just so much for both of these teams. We saw last year Ohio State won the national championship but lost to Michigan, and you see a lot of fans, a lot of players say, hey, I'd rather beat that team up north than win the whole thing. What are your guys' thoughts on just the implications of this game and what has led up to today?
I mean, you're exactly right when you mention that this is both of these teams' biggest goal of the season. If you hear anyone on either of these sides talk about what they're looking forward to most in the season, it's they want to beat Michigan. They want to beat Ohio State. This is what they play for all year long. And last season, we saw Michigan go into Columbus and take the win. And Ohio State didn't have that trip to the Big Ten championship last year. They didn't beat Michigan. They still won the national championship. But when you come into the season saying your biggest goal is to beat Michigan and then you end up winning the national championship without beating your biggest rival, so many people talk about that all season long. And I mean, that's what these two teams are playing for right now. And I think with Ohio State, they have so much riding on this game, especially losing 4 in a row. And then when you go back to last year too, just a Michigan team that was not expected to do anything in Columbus and just go in there and win 13-10. And now you have a better Michigan team than you had last year, playing at home with the advantage of home field, this home crowd. I mean, anything can happen, we know, when it comes to this game. But, I mean, so much riding on this for both teams, especially when you mention those playoff implications. And, you know, Michigan has that opportunity to make it to the Big Ten championship and make a spot in the playoffs, something that we didn't see in the rivalry last year.
Exactly right, Jaden. And as they welcome the parents of the seniors onto midfield, Vihaan, you know, as Jaden was talking about, Ryan Day wins the national championship last year with the Buckeyes, yet has only beaten Michigan once, and that was back in 2019 with a team that was entirely made up of Urban Meyer's recruits, his development. It was kind of a team passed off to Ryan Day, and since the turn of the decade, he has yet to beat their biggest rival in Michigan, 0-4 since 2019. How much does this game mean for Ryan Day? How much does it mean for his legacy at Ohio State? And what does this mean for him to come in here and get a win at the Big House?
You know, when you look at the facts, Day would be regarded as a god based nearly anywhere else in America. His winning percentage is phenomenal. He's brought home a national championship, and he's done it all while carrying himself with a lot more grace and decorum than the program's last extremely controversial head coach, Urban Meyer. And yet, that's not enough. For a segment of that fan base, I don't want to single the entire fan base out, but for a segment of the Ohio State fan base, Day will never be in the pantheon of Ohio State greats until he goes ahead and beats Michigan. This is his chance to do that. This is his chance to be Woody Hayes, to be Urban Meyer. This is Ryan Day's chance to achieve immortality.
Exactly right. And on the flip side of things, Sherrone Moore, he's seen his fair share of success thus far against the Buckeyes. He's 2-0 if you count him as being an interim head coach in 2023, as Harbaugh was serving a suspension. He comes in last year as the full head coach for the full season, 6-5 entering that game in Columbus, 20.5-point underdogs, ultimately given no chance to win the game with a very limited passing game, and they come out victorious 13-10. Sherrone Moore, as he left the horseshoe, flashed a 4-0 symbol to the Ohio State student section as he exited the field, looking to extend that to 5-0 today against the Buckeyes. What does this mean for Michigan, Jaden? A potential trip to the college football playoff and a chance for Sherrone Moore to stay unbeaten against the Buckeyes.
I mean, it means everything for this team. We've talked about it, but I mean, this really is just what they work for all year, and especially with that chance to go to the playoffs. It was so different when we saw that game last year, and, you know, Michigan entered the game having no chance to go to the college football playoffs. You know, nothing was really on the line for them besides beating their biggest rival, but now this year, so much more on the line for both of these teams, playoff implications, Big Ten tournament, or Big Ten championship implications, and I mean, it's huge. No one on this Michigan roster has lost to Ohio State. They don't know what it's like to lose to Ohio State. I mean, this team knows what it takes to win. They won the year they won the national championship, and then they won the year that they weren't expected to win. They were not great last year. You know, you mentioned it with the limited passing game. They didn't have that quarterback that they knew could throw the ball. They have that this year with Bryce Underwood. I mean, he's going to be huge in this game. I think that's going to be, you know, the biggest deciding factor. Ohio State has Julian Sayin, one of the Heisman favorites, and he's played incredible all year long for Ohio State. You know, they don't need to do too much. They just need to play how they've been playing this entire year. I mean, when it's with a team like Ohio State, you know, last year Michigan forcing them to run the ball, them not going to the pass game as much, this is where they find more success. If they don't let Michigan force them to play the game that Michigan wants them to play, and if they can play their own game, I mean, they're set up for success in this one, but, you know, we've seen the tables turn with last year in Michigan. So, I mean, a win in this game for Michigan just means absolutely everything. And, you know, they have what it takes to do it. This is such a young team. But like we said before, everything goes out the window when these two teams play each other. So we've seen Michigan, you know, get better as the season goes on. And everything's on the line today, to put it lightly.
Yeah, and for much of the 21st century, Ohio State has written the script of this rivalry. Ethan, I know you grew up a Michigan fan. You remember those years from 2012 to 2019. You remember the JT was short game. You remember those painful blowouts in 2018 and 2019. For much of the 21st century, as Ohio State became a winning machine and Michigan floundered through multiple coaching changes, the narrative was that Ohio State had taken over, had left the Wolverines in the dust. But now, ever since the program rose like a phoenix from the ashes in 2021, from that disappointing 2020 season to win 4 straight, to win 3 Big Ten titles, to win its first national championship since 1997, Michigan is now writing that story. And now, here you have a chance to make it 5 straight. You stamp your place into college football folklore. You rubber stamp a new era of dominance in the rivalry.
The victors plays throughout the big house as the Michigan Wolverines take the field, touch the banner, and get ready to play the #1 team in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes. It does not get much bigger than this, and I know we've had games in the past where the implications have been much larger. The game has been on a much higher stage. In 2023, these teams were 2 versus 3. an essential de facto national championship game. Michigan comes out on top in the Big House. That was the last time this game was here, on a game-winning interception in the final possession, as Bryce Underwood motions towards the student section, fired up, and the student section is currently responding. It is loud and energetic in this stadium. But as I was mentioning, there's been bigger stages, bigger games where these teams have been at the top of the college football world, both programs. But this year, after last year with the ending with the planting of a flag and a fight breaking out at midfield, I don't believe the hate and the intensity in this rivalry has ever reached this level than it is right now. And it all comes down to a win and get in situation for Ohio State for the Big Ten Championship, something that they haven't seen since 2019. And for Michigan, a win and get in potentially to the college football playoff. With this much bad blood between the two schools, as Ohio State now takes the field to a chorus of boos from the 110,000 plus here in attendance. Just so many storylines we can touch on, but as I mentioned, Bryce Underwood getting the student section going. He would be the first true freshman quarterback in Michigan football history to start and beat the Buckeyes. The #1 recruit in the nation last year. Came in as sort of the savior of this program after a very limited passing game last season. And he's played well. He's shown flashes of how much talent he has. I would say that game against Washington and then especially last week's game against Maryland were two of his best. He needs to have his best game of the year today against the Buckeyes, against the #1 defense in college football, against a defensive coordinator that has NFL experience in Matt Patricia. Bryce Underwood needs to play lights out today if the Wolverines want to win.
I mean, you're exactly right. And when it comes to that, prior to the Maryland game, he had not thrown a passing touchdown since the game against Washington. So that was something that Michigan fans were happy to see, him getting Andrew March, Donovan McCulley going. That's what we're going to need today against Ohio State. I mean, we know Michigan's a run-heavy offense, but they're going to have to establish offense in both sectors, pass and rush.
Yeah, and much has already been spoken of this Ohio State defense. It's the best in the country. For many games, they've looked like it is impossible to score points on them. They are a very complex unit to play against. They boast two of the best defensive players in college football in safety, Caleb Downs, and linebacker Arvell Reese. They're a complex unit. You know, defensive coordinator Matt Patricia, fresh off many years of work in the NFL, namely as defensive coordinator for the dynasty-era New England Patriots. They prefer a 4-2-5, but they're going to blend some coverage in there. They're going to rush with 3 men. You know, there really isn't an easy way to beat this defense unless Bryce can step up as a passer and just make those throws. We've seen flashes of that deep ball ability, that arm strength at times. There is no better place to shine, to make a name for yourself in this game. This is where heroes are born. This is where legacies are made.
Ohio State has won the toss and has elected to defer, meaning it will be Michigan ball to start the game off. Both captains take their respective sides of the field, and we are just about ready for kickoff.
I mean, I think this first quarter is going to be pretty telling, too. Ohio State's a team that does not give up points in the first quarter of their games. I think the most they've given up 6 total first quarter points all season. Like, they do not let opponents score on them in the first quarter. So this is going to be huge. I mean, we've known Michigan, they're a second-half team. They have been for a long time. But keeping this a close game is going to be key. And Michigan starting with the ball, a chance to get ahead first, is going to be huge.
We started talking about Bryce Underwood, and he'll get his chance to take the field against the Buckeyes in the Big House in his freshman season on the first possession of the game. Vihaan, what do you need to see out of this first drive out of Michigan to gain some confidence that the Wolverines can pull this one off?
The Ohio State offense is obviously a phenomenally talented unit, but if you go back and look at some of the box scores of their games, they can take some time to ease into the game. You know, you'll see a lot of first quarters where maybe they're held scoreless, only get a touchdown, only get a field goal. And I think if Michigan can come out fast with a drive, just establish the run early on, because you know that's what Michigan is going to need to do to win. This drive doesn't need to end in a touchdown for Michigan to feel good about itself going into the game. It can end in a couple of first downs and maybe a punt or a field goal attempt, but I think you need at least 20, 30 yards of total offense early on, especially in the run game, to establish the run.
Jaden Fielding will kick off the Ohio State Buckeyes. Deep returning, it is Andrew Marsh for the Wolverines. And off we go. Michigan, Ohio State, 2025. 1 versus 15 is underway. It's a fair catch and a touchback by Andrew Marsh. Michigan will take over 1st and 10 at the 25.
And Andrew Marsh finding a lot more production in those kick returns and punt returns, especially after Sommers Morgan struggled a little bit with those drop issues early on in the season. So Michigan electing to go with Andrew Marsh now in that position, I mean, has pretty much become the team's wide receiver one. So huge player for the Wolverines and this offense today.
Max Bredesen here to play today, not on the field for the first play, but available and will play. Sommers Morgan out for this game. Underwood in the shotgun. It's Marshall, his halfback. Sends Marsh in motion. Takes the snap. He'll hand off to Marshall up the middle. Marshall's got a seam. He's flying down the sideline at the 45, the 40, and out of bounds inside the Ohio State 40-yard line on the first play of the game. Jordan Marshall breaks one.
We've seen this Michigan run game throughout the season. They're home run hitters. You know, maybe they won't necessarily whittle you down ground and pound, but at any point in the season, either in the game, either Haynes or Jordan Marshall is just capable of bursting off a big 40-yard gain. A play like that, it's a statement of intent, like I was saying.
14-28 in the first quarter. 1st and 10, Michigan at the Ohio State 39. Underwood in the shotgun, takes the snap, drops back to throw. Fires a check down underneath to Jordan Marshall, who will pick up the first down and get down. It's 2 first downs on the first 2 plays, and Michigan at the Ohio State 29-yard line with approaching 14 minutes to go in the first. And what a start this has been for the Wolverine offense, and this crowd is loving it.
This is exactly the start you want to see from Michigan, especially from Jordan Marshall, who was out last game with that shoulder injury.
Underwood in the pistol. Marshall, the halfback. He'll turn and hand it off to him right. Marshall up the middle. He'll pick up 1, maybe 2 on the carry. Marked down at the Ohio State 27. So it'll be 2nd down and 8 at the 27. 13:35 to go and ticking in the first quarter.
Marshall obviously didn't start the season as the lead back, as Justice Haynes came in the season with a string of phenomenal performances, but has taken over in the wake of Haynes' unfortunate injury against USC.
Underwood in the shotgun with Marshall as his halfback. He sends Marshall in motion now. He fakes the throw to Marshall and takes off himself. A design quarterback run for Underwood, and he goes down near the line of scrimmage. Kenyatta Jackson on the tackle for Ohio State. It's a gain of nothing. It's 3rd and 8. Under 13 to play in the first quarter. Michigan goes tempo. Underwood in the shotgun. 2 receivers on either side of him. And a whistle and a timeout by the Buckeyes. And the Michigan sideline pumping up this crowd after an electric start on offense. They got a big 3rd and 8 coming at the 27. But in Ohio State territory and deep inside Ohio State territory quickly. And that's exactly what they needed to do to get this crowd involved early.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Jordan Marshall being key to this first drive for the Wolverines, being able to find gaps in that defense. Vihaan, you talked about at the beginning of the game, this Ohio State defense, the best in the country. I mean, they, on average, teams against them get about 80 yards of rushing per game. Michigan is a team that has over 220 rush yards per game. So that's where Michigan finds their success. Jordan Marshall early on, being able to find those gaps, get in there, takes off for the huge run on the first play of the game. That's, like you said, Ethan, exactly what you want to see if you're Michigan, especially for this crowd, getting them into it early.
Yeah, and one thing I want to comment on is that Bryce Underwood designed run. I think that's where you see some differences between the 2 QBs on the field here. Ohio State's Julian Sayin has plenty of fantastic quarterback traits. He releases the ball quickly. He throws a fantastic deep ball. He's shown to be very accurate, great decision-making. However, he's not a dual threat. For the most part, he's content to be a traditional pocket passer. He does have some solid feet in terms of a scramble, but he's not breaking off designed runs like Underwood does. He doesn't have that same speed and strength, and I think that is where the two match up very, very differently, and perhaps to Michigan's advantage, as we've seen how the Wolverines have preferred to employ a run-first approach to their offense for many years now.
A minute 15 left in the media timeout. When we come back from the media timeout, there's 12:45 to play in the first quarter. On Michigan's first drive, Jordan Marshall broke off for a 36-yard gain on the first play of the game. And then Underwood checked down to Marshall for another first down. And now 2 plays for a total of 2 yards and a 3rd and 8 at the Ohio State 27 coming up. Expect Bryce Underwood to throw here.
One other thing I do want to take note of on the Jordan Marshall breakaway one, fantastic run blocking there, especially left tackle Blake Frazier and left guard J.L. Ahadi perfectly created a hole so that Marshall didn't have to fight through too much contact to get his big gain.
Frazier, the sophomore, took over for Evan Link, who was the starting left tackle throughout the season, who is sidelined due to a season-ending injury. As the Wolverines and Buckeyes take the field once again for 3rd and 8 at the Ohio State 27. It's Underwood in the shotgun, Marshall the halfback. It's Tonielli and McCauley out to his left. Zach Marshall and Andrew Marsh out to his right. Ohio State showing pressure. Underwood takes the snap, pressure backs off, rolls out, and a quick throw to Jordan Marshall is dropped. He had Lorenzo Stiles Jr. right in his grill. Maybe a good idea to not catch that football. It's 4th and 8, and Michigan will bring the field goal unit out, which of course brings out senior Dominic Zavada, who has only made one of his last 4 field goal attempts. Of course, that one being the game winner against Northwestern at Wrigley. So if he had to make one, he made the important one, but a big one now on the first drive to pick up points. This appears to be 45 yards on the dot from the left hash, which is where he likes to kick from.
And this would be huge for Michigan to get on the board early.
Clean snap, clean hold, kick is up. And straight through, Dominic Zavada comes up big on the first drive. Michigan up 3-0. And what a confidence boost that has to be for Dominic Zavada. I mean, one of the best kickers, if not the best kicker in the country last season, decided to come back and stay with Michigan for another season. And now he's seen some struggles. 12 of 19 entering today, make that now 13 of 20 on field goal attempts. Really struggled from the 30 to 39 mark. 3 of 6 on those field goals. Just has not looked like his last year's self, but in the biggest game of the year against the #1 team in the country, he makes a 45-yard field goal with seemingly no trouble.
And I was going to say exactly what you said. What a confidence boost that has to be for Dominic Zavada, especially because last year he was basically the reason they won this game. He hit clutch field goals against Ohio State last year. He had only missed 1 field goal all season. And then this season we've seen him struggle, especially you mentioned that Northwestern game, but he makes the game-sealing field goal. And then just being able to come out here, hit his first one, especially, I mean, it's a 45-yard field goal. He used to be automatic from there last season, but this season it's been a little bit of a different story. So just being able to come out here, get Michigan on the board early, especially when Ohio State is a team that is so stingy with giving up first quarter points, it's huge for the Wolverines.
And we've mentioned how Dominic Zavada has not looked his usual sharp self at points this season. But if he can be perfect today, no one will remember that. Like we've mentioned, this is where legacies are made. This turf, this game, this moment. Nothing Zavada has done up until now matters, for better or for worse. He will be judged by what happens on the field today. And so far, he's checked a mark off on the box that ensures that he leaves this game remembered a Michigan hero.
Well, he is still perfect against the Buckeyes, as he was
there you go.
The main reason Michigan was victorious last year in the Horseshoe, kicking the game-winning field goal, as well as another in that game in a 13-10 win. Makes his first from 45 as Michigan will kick off with 12:37 to go in the first quarter, leading 3-0 on the Buckeyes. And now it's time for the Michigan defense to take the field against this Ohio State offense. Of course, the headline going into this week on Ohio State's side of things is star wide receivers Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Will they be available? They have not played the last few weeks for the Buckeyes. Both made the trip, both listed as questionable to play today on the injury report. But I would be shocked if these two guys don't take the field on this first possession.
And all the headlines have belonged to Jeremiah Smith for much of the past year, and for good reason. He's considered to be one of the most polished wide receiver prospects in a generation. But don't overlook Carnell Tate either. Tate is a little smaller, doesn't have quite the same breakaway speed, but just fantastic body control and just an ability to haul down some fantastic catches. A comparison would be, note A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles. Brown's physicality contrasted with Smith's just tightness and ability to make contested catches despite his much smaller frame.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really been a question of how healthy these two are. Carnell Tate hasn't played the last 3 games. Jeremiah Smith obviously did not play last game, and Ryan Day has been, kind of dancing around the question of how healthy these guys really are, like with those undisclosed lower body injuries, just, how efficient will they be today? How effective will they be today? Will those injuries be limiting in any capacity? We will find out soon.
Michigan kicks off, and it will be a fair catch and a touchback for the Buckeyes. They'll start 1st and 10 at the 25. Julian Sayin, the SoCal kid, the sophomore, is a Heisman candidate, 3rd in odds currently, but that will jump with 2 victories in the next 2 weeks for sure. 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the year. He's been sensational, especially with this talented of a wide receiver group. Michigan, no Ernest Hausman in this game. He didn't play versus Maryland either. Other than that, everyone ready to go. And this crowd is definitely ready to go. It is loud on 1st and 10 at the 25 from the left hash. It's Sayin in the shotgun. Bo Jackson, his halfback. Takes the snap, looks to hand off, play fake, looking to throw deep. He's got Carnell Tate, and it's broken up by Zeke Berry. Looking to take a shot on the first play of the game. He throws deep one-on-one to Carnell Tate, and perfect coverage from Zeke Berry to knock the ball free. Incomplete 2nd and 10.
And for so much of the season, this secondary has bent, but it hasn't broken. There have been players every single game who will just come in and make a big play, whether it be Jaden Sanders, whether it be Jaden Mangan, whether it be Brandon Hillman, whether it be Berry.
Sayin back in the shotgun on 2nd and 10 from his own 25. Jackson, the halfback, sends Crane in motion. Sayin drops back to throw, looking down the sideline for Jeremiah Smith, and it's picked off. It's Jair Hill going down the sideline and knocked down at the Ohio State 23.
Ethan, you just mentioned in the pregame that you had a feeling that Jair Hill was going to make an interception. And
you called it.
I was going to bring that up unless he went ahead and did it. But there you go.
Jair Hill, no INTs this season, has dropped so many opportunities in so many games for big-time INTs, and now on the second defensive play of the game for the Wolverines against the Buckeyes, Jair Hill cuts in front of the pass to Jeremiah Smith and picks it off for his first interception this season, and this stadium might explode.
It genuinely might explode. The roar of that crowd. You called it pregame. Jair Hill with the interception, and we saw both of those plays by Julian Sayin going to the outside, one to the right, one to the left. He loves to throw wide to his receivers. Going down the middle is not something they usually do. He goes wide. Zeke Berry on the first one with the pass breakup. Jair Hill with the interception on the second. No better way to start for the Michigan Wolverines.
Underwood in the pistol. They ruled Jair Hill out of bounds at the Ohio State 40. Underwood fakes the pass, now rolls out and scrambles. He'll pick up a gain of about 7 or 8. It's 2nd and 3 from the Ohio State 32.
And this was
there, Bryce Underwood using his legs, something that we hadn't really seen since the first few weeks of the year. Picks up 8 there. It's 2nd and 3 with 11:50 to go in the first quarter.
And that's something that we touched on, that we wanted to see Bryce Underwood using his legs, getting yards on the ground for Michigan. Single
back formation. Underwood hands off to Jordan Marshall. who has a seam down the sideline, breaks a tackle, and down at the Ohio State 10. And everything going the Wolverines' way from the jump.
And yet again, Marshall does have speed. Marshall can break through contact. He didn't need to do either of those things there because the run blocking, especially on that left side of the line, had just given it to him on a plate, and he's taken it.
I mean, the run blocking is going to be huge for Michigan. We know they love to run the football. Being able to find cracks in that defensive line for Jordan Marshall, and we've seen him take off with his speed. If he's able to find those gaps, Wolverines are able to find success.
Michigan up 3-0 with 11 minutes left in the first. It's 1st and 10 from the Ohio State 11. Underwood drops back to pass. Now a design run to the left, down the sideline and out of bounds at the 9. He picks up 2. And you can see quickly that a major part of this Michigan game plan offensively is have number 19 take off and use his legs. Something that we saw flashes of throughout the season, but very limited usage. Wolverine fans have been asking, where has Bryce Underwood's legs been? Such a big part of his recruitment was that he was a mobile quarterback, and you're seeing it now against the Buckeyes. Underwood in the pistol. It's Jordan Marshall, the halfback. Andrew Marsh goes in motion. It's a handoff to Marshall up the middle. He'll pick up 2. And down, it'll be 3rd down and 6 at the Ohio State 7. And you have to think, Michigan, of course they'll take points here after getting an interception on the Ohio State's first possession, but you don't want to take too many trips to the red zone, especially inside the 10, and only come away with 3 against an offense this talented of Ohio State.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Almost feels like 4th down territory, even only 5 minutes into the first half.
Underwood in the shotgun. It's Kuzzle, the halfback for the Wolverines. 3rd and 6 at the Ohio State 7. Underwood drops back to throw, throws a lob to Donovan McCulley, and it's incomplete. Michigan looking for a flag and nothing on the field. No laundry there. And it will be 4th and 6 from the Ohio State 7. And on comes Dominic Zavada once again to kick his 2nd field goal attempt of the game.
I mean, if you're the Wolverines, you almost feel like 3 points here just isn't good enough, especially with that interception and the location of the interception, just not being able to capitalize on that with the touchdown, especially against this Ohio State offense and defense. They're not a team that gives up much like this.
It was Davison Igbinosin on the coverage against Donovan McCulley. Definitely some contact, but no flag. Snap, hold, kick, and true for Dominic Zavada. He's 2 for 2. It's 6-0 Michigan, and there's some extracurriculars. Welcome to the game, folks. Some pushing and shoving going on after the field goal. Trash talk going both ways, and these Wolverines are feeling themselves up 6-0 with 9:42 to go in the first.
And if you can't get a touchdown this early on, if you're Michigan, being able to see Dominic Zavada go 2 for 2 in his first 2 attempts, I mean, that's huge for them. We talked about, you know, his inconsistencies this season and on the biggest stage of the year so far, playing in the game against Ohio State. Not much more riding on this game than anything else, and him just being able to hit those are huge for Michigan. And I mean, them being able to get up 6-0 early on, things look good for the Wolverines so far.
One thing I want to note, just in the differences between these two offenses, Ohio State has obviously had an incredibly potent unit. You know, you've got playmakers all over the field. You've got a quarterback who's in the Heisman conversation. But for the most part, they've run, you know, a relatively simple offense. You know, Sayin does a great job of taking what defenses give to him, targets, you know, the sidelines a lot. Just a lot of good run blocking when they can find holds down the left or the right sides of the line. Michigan, by comparison, maybe isn't the surefire point machine that the Buckeyes are. But throughout the season, we've seen this coaching staff not afraid to, you know, get a little experimental with it. You know, we've seen trick plays, we've seen misdirection and RPOs, and you have to wonder, with that being one of the major things separating these two teams, is that something that Michigan can do, use to their advantage? Maybe their playmakers and receivers aren't of the same caliber as Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, but maybe Michigan just has that little extra bit of creativity and offense, that willingness to experiment, that could give them a leg up.
I want to talk about something and hear your guys' thoughts. Last year, a lot of the talk about why Ohio State lost was Ryan Day's game plan. A lot of running up the middle, playing to Michigan's strengths. On the first 2 plays of the game, you saw a play action and a deep shot to Carnell Tate, broken up by Zeke Berry. On the very next play, they try to take a one-on-one ball down the sideline to Jeremiah Smith, and it gets picked off. Definitely seeing Ryan Day trying to take some deep balls down the field. put air under the ball and attack the Michigan secondary, but so far not working. This is exactly what Michigan needs to do to maybe make Ryan Day make some adjustments, second-guess himself. What do you expect to see out of this Ohio State offense in the second drive? More of the same, more of the deep balls, or are they going to try and attack the running game now?
You know, I think one thing I noticed in, my pregame review, Ohio State's run blocking the first few weeks, maybe up until the Minnesota game in October, was a little suspect. Since then, they've shown a strong ability to run the ball, even without Bo Jackson. You've got running backs like James Peoples, Isaiah West, C.J. Donaldson, who have also just been able to find gaps and score touchdowns and take the ball down the field. I think Ohio State's run game is maybe a little bit better than a lot of people give it credit for, and I think we're going to see Day, try and put the ball in the hands of Jackson on this first play.
Michigan will kick off once again. If this crowd needed anything extra to get them involved in this game, a Michigan hot start, back-to-back scores on the first two drives and an interception on the second offensive play from Julian Sayin. This crowd is all the way involved. The kick is up, and it will be fair caught at the 2 by Brandon Innis, and it'll be 1st and 10 once again at the Ohio State 25 for the Buckeyes offense.
Vihaan, you were mentioning Ohio State and Bo Jackson and them establishing that run game. That's something we saw in their game against Rutgers with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate out. We saw them go to him. He had a huge game against Rutgers, them being forced to run the ball more without their 2-star wide receivers. So knowing that they found success with him last game, I would not be surprised if we see them start trying to utilize him more in this game. But, I mean, you can't deny those 2 wide receivers on the outsides. They're not going to stop throwing the ball to them.
The Buckeye offense takes the field once again. No Jeremiah Smith on the field for this play. Carnell Tate out wide. Bo Jackson, the halfback. James Peoples also on the field for the Buckeyes. Sayin in the shotgun, sends Tate in motion left to right. Turns and hands off up the middle to Bo Jackson. And he's got a crease, but a great tackle made by Brandon Hillman, or else Jackson could have been potentially gone. It's a gain of 5 for the Buckeyes. Up the middle from Bo Jackson, 2nd and 5 at the Ohio State 30. We're approaching 9 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the first quarter.
That tackle from Hillman was crucial. Jackson had a pretty much wide open field ahead of him. If Hillman was not able to make that tackle, he would have been off to the races.
Michigan will take a timeout. They had 12 men on the field there and weren't sure who was supposed to come off. So Sherrone Moore will use his first. Now both teams have used their first charge timeout. 9 minutes and 11 seconds to go here in the first quarter. Michigan leads 6-0.
Yeah, and Hillman lines up in the secondary, but great, just effort of getting to the line, just dropping way deeper than you would expect him to just make that tackle. One little anecdote here, not the most relevant thing. Bo Jackson's first name is Lamar, and
yes, it is.
I tend to not believe in nominative determinism, but when your full name is Lamar Jackson and you're nicknamed Bo Jackson, I think the odds are higher than not that you are going to be good at running with the football.
Very true.
That's
no
funny.
relation to either Lamar or Bo Jackson, NFL legends. As Blake Corum, a former Michigan legend, is on the big screen.
Also a running
to the
back.
approval of the Wolverine crowd. Sayin in the shotgun. Jackson joins him in the backfield, now behind him in the pistol. 2nd and 5 from the 30. It's a handoff to Jackson once again, and he'll get stopped for a gain of just about 2. And you can tell there's some bad blood right now between these two teams. There's a lot going on after the whistle. I wouldn't be shocked if it wasn't too long until a flag comes out for something. But it's 3rd down and 2 after the gain of 3 from the Ohio State 33. Chance for Michigan to get off the field in 3 plays, and this crowd is loud in Ann Arbor. 8:35 to go in the first quarter. 3rd and 2 from their own 33. Sayin in the pistol. Smith and Tate out to his left. It's a play action over the top. He finds the tight end. It's Max Clare who picks up the first down. Gain of about 5. It'll be 1st and 10, Ohio State from their own 38.
Yeah, Buckeyes line holding up there is saying drops back, kind of gets the ball out quickly, which is one of his strengths before there can really be any pressure on there.
Max Clare, the Purdue transfer, 7 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown last week with Tate and Smith out. Reliable tight end option. Sayin takes the snap, fakes the handoff, now looks to throw. He'll dump it off to Jackson in the flat, who will take off for extra yardage. It's a first down and more into Michigan territory and shoved out of bounds at the 40. And Jair Hill and Bo Jackson have some words for each other after the play. Common theme of this rivalry and this game. It's 1st and 10 Ohio State at the Michigan 39 with 7:43 to go in the first. Michigan leads this one 6-0 thus far. Pistol formation for Ohio State. Sayin making an audible at the line of scrimmage. 2 receivers out to his right. Jackson the halfback. He'll hand off right to Jackson, who tries to get the edge. Wolverines there, but he breaks free from him, and he's down the sideline. Nobody there to catch him. Finally pushed out of bounds inside the Michigan 5.
Yeah, and yet again, you're seeing just an example of run blocking being so important to both of these teams. Neither running back has really needed to fight through contact just yet. You know, Jackson had range, he just took it.
I thought they might have gotten away with the Carnell Tate hold on Jair Hill in the second level, but no call. It's Ohio State 1st and goal at the Michigan 3 with a chance to even it up with a touchdown and take the lead with an extra point. Sayin in the shotgun. He drops back to throw. It's a lob to Jeremiah Smith and just out of reach of number 4. Zeke Berry there already made a great defensive play on Carnell Tate. Now has his shot against Jeremiah Smith. They took a one-on-one shot in the end zone. It's 2nd and goal at the 3. 6:40 to go in the first quarter. Goal line formation for the Buckeyes. Sayin takes the snap, hands it off left, and a tackle for a loss by the Wolverine defense. It was C.J. Donaldson, the ball carrier, the senior West Virginia transfer. And it's 3rd and goal at the 4 now, and a huge opportunity and a flag thrown way after the play. I believe this one might go against the Wolverines.
Donaldson with 9 rushing touchdowns has been the Buckeyes' primary weapon in the red zone this season.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense, an eruption of boos. I wish I could hear the number from the official, but it is half the distance to the goal, and more importantly, a first down and goal for Ohio State. It was 3rd and goal at the 4, and instead it'll be 1st and goal at the 2 for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. It was on Jashawn Barham, so that'll be his first personal foul for disqualification. Buckeyes in the goal line formation once again. It's a handoff to Charleston, and he's trying to fight his way in, but tackled at the 1, brought down by a horde of Wolverines. It's 2nd and goal at the 1, and we're under 6 to go in the first quarter with the Wolverines up 6-0.
And you mentioned earlier, Ethan, the Wolverines and the Buckeyes getting into a scuffle after practically almost every play. And you were just waiting for that flag to be thrown, and it's thrown at the worst possible time for the Wolverines, giving the Buckeyes a first down. But if they can stuff this offense and keep them from getting a touchdown.
Buckeyes get to the line quickly. It's Charleston, the halfback. Can he get in? They mark him short for the time being near the goal line. It looked like he might have gotten his upper body in the ball across the plane. There is a Wolverine down, having a tough time getting up. I believe that's Rayshawn Benny. or no, excuse me, it's not Rayshawn Benny. We'll get an update once we know exactly who it is down for the Wolverines. But a quick injury timeout now, and I believe they'll take another look at whether or not C.J. Donaldson broke the plane and got into the end zone for the Buckeyes. If not, it would bring up a 3rd and 1 at maybe the 6-inch mark to the goal line.
Yeah, and that play looked really close. I mean, from here, it looked like he almost crossed the plane.
They'll extend this to a full media timeout now. This upcoming 3rd down, if this spot gets marked short of a touchdown, it will be the 5th play with a goal to go for Ohio State. Michigan forced a 3rd and 4 after it was 1st down and 3. And then an unsportsmanlike conduct was called against Jayshawn Barham, gave Ohio State a fresh set of downs and 1st and goal at the 2. And they will take another look now at the spot. Ruling on the field was marked short. It was Mason Curtis, the Michigan safety, number 25, the sophomore who was the defensive rookie of the year in 2024. He has a sack and an interception on the season this year, hurt and being helped off the field for the Wolverines. And the ruling on the field stands, so the Buckeyes are short on 2nd and goal. It'll bring up 3rd and goal from way inside the 1-yard line. They're spotting that ball just a couple inches maybe from the goal line. This will be a big stand if the Wolverine defense can provide it. And they're asking for help in the end zone right next to the student section to pump up the noise. Media timeout, 35 seconds away from being over. The Wolverine defense out and ready. Buckeyes still in the huddle near their sideline, as now they take the field for 3rd and 1, way inside the 1.
And this is practically as close as you can get for Ohio State. And it feels like 4th down territory too for them, if they're not able to get it on 3rd down.
Yeah, you would have to be surprised if Ryan Day doesn't trust his defense and go for it here. Goal line formation, 3rd and 1. It's Sayin on a quarterback sneak. Does he get in? There's a pile at the goal line, and he's short. The first official we saw ruling it short near where the line of scrimmage was, waiting for the official ruling, and now the arms go up for a Buckeye score. All knotted up at 6 apiece with 5:10 to go in the first quarter, and an extra point coming to take the lead. They just played the review on the big screen, and the entire Michigan sideline, along with 110,000 in the stadium, asking for another look at that.
Replay on the video board at the Big House still seeming a little inconclusive.
It's tough to tell on those quarterback sneaks. And now A challenge has been called, or a official review on the field now for the spot of the ball, ruled on the field a touchdown. And snow has begun to fall on the Big House. Shades of 2021 in below freezing temperatures. Score currently reads 6-6. But we'll see after the official review if there's a change to be made.
I mean, it's so hard to see sometimes on those quarterback sneaks, especially with the offensive line just toppling on top of him, trying to push him into the end zone. The angle's hard to see from up top, but when you take a look at the side angle, it looks like he's short of the goal line.
We have a good view of the TV broadcast up here in the booth, and it looks pretty clear that Julian Sayin never really came close to crossing the plane as the ball carrier. Might have even lost a half yard.
It seemed like he turned his body around towards the end of the sneak, and that might have been the key difference between him getting the touchdown in and losing yardage.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw that angle right there, his helmet didn't even cross the line, let alone the football or it's the top half of his body. So getting that side angle much easier to see from courtesy of the TV broadcast.
And the ruling has been overturned, and Sherrone Moore near the end zone, hyping up this student section. It's 4th down and goal for the Buckeyes, and decision time for Ryan Day. He'll send his offense back out there. 4th and goal from the 1. In a 6-0 game, Michigan leads.
I mean, this is exactly what we expected for Ryan Day to run his offense back out on the field for 4th and practically as close as you can get to the end zone. Not surprised to see Julian Sayin back out there.
Goal line formation once again. It's Donaldson, the halfback. Sayin hands off and a flag. Play rule dead. It was a play action rollout to the right. And I believe this one's going to get blown dead for a false start or an illegal motion. And the flag called on the Buckeyes. And the crowd erupts in the Big House with snow falling down. It's 4th and goal from the 6, and here comes the field goal unit and Jaden Fielding, the senior. Some field goal worries in the 2024 version of the game. Some chip shots missed by the Buckeyes, and ultimately the reason they fell short. This is nothing more than a chip shot again. It's a 24-yard field goal for Fielding. Clean snap, clean hold, kick is up, and good. Ohio State gets on the board, and it's Michigan leading still 6-3. And once again, these guys just don't want to get to their sidelines. After finally the officials will break up a scrum in the middle of the field.
And I mean, if you're Ohio State, that's exactly what you want to see if you have to force your field goal unit on and turn away from 4th down, is Jaden Fielding. You mentioned it. We saw him last year against Michigan in Columbus, went 1 for 3. And had he made those 2, that would have been the difference in the game. They would have walked away 16-13 victors in that game, would have taken the win against Michigan. But he could not come away with those field goals. So seeing him being able to capitalize and take advantage of his first field goal opportunity in this game in Ann Arbor, huge for Ohio State. Same as Dominic Zavada, just being able to get that confidence boost in your first kick of the game.
Yeah, and Fielding 14 for 16 on the year, 100% of extra points made for the Buckeyes.
So Fielding will now kick off for the Buckeyes as they trail 6-3 to the Wolverines with 4:33 to go in what's been an exciting first quarter in Ann Arbor. Kickoff is away and over the head of Andrew Marsh for a touchback. And the Wolverines will take over 1st and 10 at the 25. And now Elijah Dotson getting involved on special teams with a slew of Buckeyes after the whistle. And All you have to do is watch just a few plays of this game to know how much these schools hate each other.
Yeah, genuinely. It's after every single play. Like you said before, no one wants to go straight back to their sideline. I mean, the hatred that these two programs have for each other is off the charts, especially in this game.
Underwood in the Michigan offense back on the field in the pistol. He hands it off to Kuzzle, who breaks it out to the left, makes a jump cut at the 28, and taken down at their own 30. It's a gain of 5 on 1st and 10. Excuse me, they'll mark it a gain of 6 at the 31. 2nd down and 4 coming for the Wolverines at their own 31. Bryson Kuzzle had a breakout game with no Jordan Marshall last week against Maryland with 3 touchdowns and 100 yards.
And it just feels like whatever running back the Wolverines put in steps up to the plate.
Underwood in the pistol once again. He'll take the snap. He'll fake the handoff to Kuzzle. Now looks to throw. A flag thrown in the backfield as Underwood takes a sack at the 29. Tried to escape but couldn't. We'll check the flag. It'll be holding on the offense against Jalen Hoffman, the fullback. And instead of it being 3rd down and 6 from the 29, it'll be 2nd and 15 from Michigan's own 20 after the holding call.
Essentially taking away Kuzzle's decent gain on the first play of the drive.
Or no, they'll say Ohio State has elected to decline the penalty. 3rd down and 6 from the 29. An interesting choice from Ryan Day. Underwood in the shotgun. 2 receivers out to his right. Takes the snap, looks to throw over the middle. Now rolls out to his left. Tries to make a man miss, still on his feet, and finally brought down at the line of scrimmage near the 30-yard line. It'll be a 3-and-out for the Wolverine offense, and Underwood maybe a little too reliant on his legs right now. Maybe the freshman, maybe just a little timid to let the football loose against this Ohio State defense. Only 3 passing attempts up to this point, 1 for 3 for 10 yards. That completion on the first throw of the game on a check down to Jordan Marshall.
I believe this is the first punt we've seen out of either team in the game.
Yes, it is. It'll be Hudson Hollenbeck, the punter. Did not punt against Maryland, which is always a good thing. And now we'll have to punt to the Buckeyes. It's Innis, the returner. He catches and looks to return it, and finally taken down after gaining some yardage at the Ohio State 37. 2:34 to play in the first quarter. Michigan leads 6-3. Ohio State will take over after a 3-and-out from the Michigan offense at their own 37.
And Ryan Day just putting his trust in his defense when we saw him elect to decline the penalty and keep it at 3rd and 5 for his defense. They're able to get this stop, force the Wolverines to go 3-and-out for the first time this game.
Sayin in the shotgun. Snow coming down a little more heavily on the big house. Sends a man in motion, now takes the snap, drops back to throw, throws it quickly to the left to Jeremiah Smith, who gets tackled after a gain of just about 1. And it'll be 2nd down and 9 from the 38 after a screen pass to Jeremiah Smith, looking to get the star sophomore involved. They relied heavily on their run game in that last possession that got them to goal-to-go scenario before having to settle for a field goal. 2nd and 9, 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Ohio State from their own 38. Sayin in the shotgun. Sends Carnell Tate in motion. Takes the snap. He'll hand it off up the middle to Jackson, who gets taken down after a gain of 2. It'll bring up 3rd and 7 at their own 40, and a chance for the Michigan defense to respond with a 3-and-out of their own on a 3rd and long.
In a lot of cases, you can expect a 3rd and long call to usually be a pass call, and I think when you have arguably the 2 best receivers in the country, I don't necessarily see why it would be different here, but I could be wrong.
Sayin in the shotgun. It's Donaldson, the halfback. 3 receivers to his right. It's Jeremiah Smith, the lone receiver, to his left, with Jair Hill on him. Sayin takes the snap, drops back to throw, fires near the line to gain to Carnell Tate, who's trying to fight for it, and they will mark him a yard past the first down line. It's 1st and 10, Ohio State at their own 48. A big third down pickup. Sayin to Tate on a hitch route that had his back turned just at the line to gain. He turned and gained an extra 1 or 2 after the catch through contact.
Exactly like you said, huge pickup for the Buckeyes with 7 yards to gain. He finds one of his star receivers who's been dealing with that injury but looks fine so far today.
Sayin takes the snap. He'll hand it off to Jackson, who's running left, and he takes a big hit from Brandon Hillman. Gain of about 2 or 3. It'll be 2nd down and 7 from the Michigan 49 as Ohio State crosses midfield. And that should be the last play of the first quarter. We'll close out the first quarter with Michigan leading, except Ohio State goes quickly to the line. 5 seconds to go and ticking. We'll see if they actually snap it here. And nothing, and the clock hits 000, looking to draw the Wolverines offside. That's the end of the first quarter. Michigan leads 6-3 after a fast start. Ohio State responds. You're listening in to WCBN-FM-Ann Arbor 88.3. To those listening on YouTube, we thank you as well to tuning into the game. Michigan leads 6-3 after a quick start. Ohio State responded back, had a touchdown called back, ruled short, had to settle for a field goal after having 1st and goal at the 2. Michigan picked up a field goal in their opening drive of the game, then intercepted Julian Sayin to get another field goal. And those were the 3 scores of the contest. Still no touchdowns as we enter the second quarter. Guys, what are your thoughts? I mean, on the Michigan side of things, you have to be impressed and happy with the way that first quarter went, especially having the lead, holding this Buckeye offense to 3 points.
You know, I think the only thing you could ask for more is if either if the interception or the first drive resulted in a touchdown. But you've scored a field goal off 2 possessions, and in particular those two defensive possessions, I think there was a lot to really like out of this defense. I think one thing I want to call attention to in particular, Jaden and I kind of talked about how Julian Sayin really likes to target, the sides of the field. Ohio State hasn't had too much success doing that in that first quarter. Michigan's tackling on the curb. In fact, the Buckeyes have had some of their bigger gains come from down the middle, which isn't always something you see a lot of when it comes to younger QBs who maybe will choose to throw away from the middle of the field or hand the ball off away from the middle of the field. And then obviously I think Michigan's tackling at points this season hasn't necessarily been what you would have wanted. Sometimes some bad penalties, just sometimes some missed tackles. But so far this defense has come out to play, has made the tackles where it needs to make them, and I think it's not perfect, as we said. This could have been a game where you're up 14-3, 14-0, but if you're not going to engage in those hypothetical situations, I think Michigan can be satisfied with what it's done in this first quarter.
Yeah, and I mean, just the fact that Michigan is leading at the end of this fourth quarter, I think you have to be happy if you're the Wolverines right now. And I mean, especially, you touched on it, just being able to see that out of the defense, especially on the first and second plays of the game from Zeke Berry on the pass breakup, and then on Jair Hill getting that interception. Ethan, you called it. Just the Wolverine defense just being able to step up. I think one of you mentioned it has taken Ohio State a little bit to settle into games sometimes so far this season. So Michigan just being able to jump out early, take advantage of that. And, you mentioned we would have loved to see touchdowns on some of those plays if you're Michigan, but you just have to be happy to head into this second quarter with a lead if you're the Wolverines. And then, on the other side of things, we kind of mentioned it. If Michigan can force Ohio State to start going towards the run game, start forcing the ball up the middle, then they're playing more towards the kind of football that I think Michigan would prefer. You have those star wide receivers on the outside, and that's where Ohio State has found most of their success this season. But, we've seen Michigan force them to go to their running backs and try that run game. Ohio State has 48 rush yards. And, that's kind of where Michigan can maybe find a little bit of an advantage. But I think you just have to be impressed with the Michigan defense as a whole so far. Offense, you'd love to see them capitalize more on those opportunities going forward in this game, but I think you just got to be happy with how things are going so far if you're Michigan.
Yeah,
exactly right. And the Buckeyes, as we were talking about, Jaden, might need to gear towards their running game a bit more. The longest air yards on a throw from Julian Sane that's been complete was to Carnell Tate on that third down pickup of about 7, which is not what this Buckeye team's used to. They've tried a few jump balls for Tate and Smith, 0 for 3 with 2 incompletions and an interception on those 3 jump ball attempts to their receivers thus far. But here we go, start of the second quarter. Buckeyes now moving left to right. It's 2nd and 7 from the Michigan 49. Saying in the shotgun, it's Jackson, the halfback. He'll take the snap and hand it off to Jackson, who gets tackled just past the line of scrimmage. It's a gain of 1 and brings up another 3rd and medium, 3rd and 6 from the Michigan 48. Another opportunity for the Wolverines to get off the field here.
And just like we were saying, the Wolverines want to force them to go up the middle.
Sayin takes the snap, drops back to throw, looking right, finds Carnell Tate once again on Zeke Berry, and he'll pick up the first down. Carnell Tate, another comeback route there, similar to what you saw on the last 3rd down conversion. And Ohio State keeps the chains moving with 14:20 to go in the second quarter. It's 1st and 10 at the Michigan 40. Sayin in the shotgun. 2 receivers out to his right. Carnell Tate, the lone receiver, to his left. Sends Claire in motion from right to left. Now takes the snap, looks back to throw. Steps up in the pocket. Now looks to fires left towards the far sideline to Claire. It is caught, and Claire forced out of bounds after a gain of 5. It'll be 2nd and 5 at the Michigan 35. Sayin with a lot of time to throw there.
Yeah, Sayin has mostly had pretty clear pockets so far. Hasn't really been pressured on any of his dropbacks.
And Ethan, you mentioned Max Clare earlier, but that's just another key piece to this Ohio State offense. You talk so much about the wide receivers, but him at tight end, the Purdue transfer, has just been great for them.
13:20 to go in the second quarter. 2nd and 5 from the Michigan 35. It's a handoff to Bo Jackson up the middle, and he gets stopped near the line of scrimmage. Gain of nothing, and that brings up another 3rd and medium for the 3rd straight time. Ohio State 2 for 2 on those 2 attempts.
Yeah, and just like you said, for the 3rd straight time, they have the 3rd and medium. They've ran it up the middle with Bo Jackson, and then now we see them go to Carnell Tate, so we'll see if they run that same play again.
Tate out wide on the right. Jeremiah Smith, the lone receiver, out to the left. Brandon Innis in the slot. Jackson, the halfback. Sayin takes the snap. Now we'll call for an audible. This crowd getting into it. 3rd and 5 at the Michigan 35. Takes the snap. Hands it off to Bo Jackson, and he's stopped behind the line to gain. Michigan makes a stand on 3rd and 5. It'll bring up 4th down and 5 from the Michigan 35, and on comes, or will the offense stay on the field here? Ryan Day kind of in no man's territory. It would be a career long from Jaden Fielding, and he'll keep the offense on the field. 4th and 5 from the Michigan 35. Michigan with a 6-3 lead with 12 minutes to go in the second quarter. A huge moment early in this one. Sayin in the shotgun. Takes the snap, drops back to throw. Looking right, firing right. He's got Jeremiah Smith. Caught, end zone, touchdown, Buckeyes.
Yeah, Smith had a good first step on the Wolverines defensive back on the play. Kind of just needed to make a step forward to make the catch, and there was nothing ahead of him but the Wolverines end zone.
On 4th and 5, Sayin airs it long. Jeremiah Smith on a double route got more than enough separation from Zeke Berry. And Ohio State leads 9-6 with 11:44 to go in the second quarter. Extra point pending from Fielding, who is perfect in his career on extra point attempts, to extend the lead to 4. Jeremiah Smith scores the first touchdown of this game. And the touchdown Not so fast. Under further review, looking to see if Jeremiah Smith maybe stepped out of bounds inside the 5. It's definitely a clean catch. It's whether or not he kept his footing in bounds as he scampered into the end zone. And I don't think there's any question there that Jeremiah Smith got in. That'll be a touchdown for Ohio State. They take their first lead of the game. Most likely, pending the extra point, will be leading 10-6 early on in the second quarter. The Wolverine offense, 3 and out on their last possession, will need to respond. This Michigan sideline is motioning for an incomplete pass. Did Jeremiah Smith bobble this ball on contact? He did.
He did.
Brandon Hillman hit him as he caught it at the 5. He bobbled it a little bit, and his first step in the end zone was out of bounds. He had crossed the plane, of course, but did he have possession of the ball?
I mean, I think when we all were looking at it for the first time, we didn't catch the bobble, but then when you see it from that angle, exactly like you said, Ethan, upon contact, you see him kind of bobble at it, and then his first step out of the end zone, and we can have another look at it from this angle.
The question is, it looks like he maintained possession there. There's a slight bobble. Does the foot come down out of bounds before he regains possession of the football on a slight bobble? He also potentially made a football move after the initial catch, where in that case it would be ruled a fumble. As now on the video board, slowing it down frame by frame, it looks close, but call on the field is upheld. It's a touchdown, Buckeyes.
I think it's just one of those situations where there just wouldn't have been enough evidence in the other direction to really get the overturn.
I agree with that. So now time for the extra point. From Jaden Fielding to extend the Buckeye lead to 4. Clean snap, hold, kick is true. And it's 10-6, Ohio State. 11:44 to go in the second quarter. Now a media timeout. Guys, you had to see this coming. Michigan wasn't going to keep this offense silent all day. But now Michigan finds themselves with their first deficit of this one, and a big offensive possession coming up after a 3 and out on their last.
Yeah, Julian Sain's ability to throw the ball deep is his strongest trait as a passer. Going into the game, he is 22 for 34 on passes of more than 20 air yards, 11 touchdowns to no interceptions.
And I mean, this is basically exactly what we've been waiting for, that 35-yard touchdown pass, Julian Sain to Jeremiah Smith, just the connection between those two. We've seen it all season long. And prior to that, Jeremiah Smith only had 1 catch in this game for 1 yard. And so just getting his second reception, we were waiting for it. We knew it was coming. I mean, this is much more characteristic of the Ohio State offense that we've seen all season. We've seen them try to force the ball up the middle a little bit with Bo Jackson, but then just going back to their strong suits, finding Jeremiah Smith on the outside of the field, going down those outsides towards the sideline, what Ohio State likes to do. They find the most success. They find success again here on 4th down, and I mean a huge 4th down conversion for them to be able to not only pick up the 5 yards, but pick up the touchdown and take their first lead of the game.
As, you know, like Ethan said, if you're Michigan, you know, you knew that connection was coming at some point in this game. You knew that you weren't going to keep them silent. But just moving into a little bit of trivia, you know, a lot of them talked about the stakes of this game. And how high can the stakes get? Apparently pretty high. I think in recent memory, the most high-octane match between these two teams is the 2006 showing, in which both the Buckeyes and Wolverines entered the game 11-0. Winner would advance the Bowl Championship Subdivision National Championship. Teams were ranked number 1 and 2, and to add an emotional touch to it, it was the day after legendary Michigan head coach Bo Schembechler had passed away. Obviously, Ohio State won what is widely regarded as one of the greatest college football games of all time, 42-39, advances the national championship. In recent memory, the one that you all remember, I'm sure, 2023, number 3 versus number 2. Also 11-0 versus 11-0. With Jim Harbaugh serving time on the sidelines as a suspension for his role in the Colorado Stallions investigation, Michigan wins 30-24 off of a Rod Moore game-sealing interception, goes on to advance to and win the college football playoff and the national championship. Going back a little bit further than that, 1973, both teams surprisingly tied 10-10, both undefeated going into the game. In something you don't see much of nowadays, Ohio State won the vote to determine which was the better team and was selected to play in the Rose Bowl, a result that angers Michigan fans to this day. So
that game, part of the 10-year war. In that game, Buckeyes tore down the M Club banner before kickoff. Kickoff away, and Andrew Marsh looking to return it, and he gets leveled at Michigan's own 15. And it seems like there's been a momentum shift in this one. Ohio State feeling confident, up 10-6 with 11:41 to go in the second quarter. It's time for Bryce Underwood, the true freshman, the #1 overall recruit in the nation, to see what he can do and respond to a Buckeye score. It's Kuzdal, the halfback, once again, seeing a lot of him on the last 2 drives, not a lot of Jordan Marshall. Just something to keep note of. Only 1 receiver out in the field for the Wolverines. Underwood takes the snap, hands it off to Kuzdal. Charges up the middle and gets stopped after a gain of just about 2. It'll be 2nd and 8 at Michigan's own 18.
We saw Kuzdal with the biggest game of his career last week against Maryland with those 3 touchdowns, just leading the Michigan offense with Jordan Marshall out. And then we knew Jordan Marshall had that shoulder injury coming into this game, said he would play no matter what. But I mean, like you said, something definitely to keep an eye out for if Kuzdal is getting more reps in this game.
Another handoff to Kuzdal to the right. He makes a second effort and charges forward for an extra about 3 yards. He got stopped originally at the line of scrimmage. Picks up a gain of 3. It's 3rd and 4 from the 22, and Michigan trying to avoid a second straight 3 and out. Underwood in the shotgun. 2 receivers on either side of him. Kuzdal, the halfback. And they got a Buckeye to jump offside. No flag down on the field. It's a jump ball to Andrew Marsh and a flag thrown, and that'll be pass interference.
Yeah, incredibly blatant there as Buckeyes defensive back Jermaine Matthews put so much contact on Andrew Marsh.
I mean, it looked pretty obvious that there was an offside on the play. No flag thrown for that originally. I think Bryce Underwood thought he had a flag because he took a deep shot immediately one-on-one to Andrew Marsh, but a lot of contact made by Jermaine Matthews Jr., the junior defensive back for Ohio State, and it is a pass interference. 1st and 10 Michigan from their own 37, 10:32 to go in the second quarter. Underwood in the single back formation. Kuzdal, the halfback. Curious about Jordan Marshall's availability, his health, because he has not appeared in the last 2 series. Handoff to Kuzdal up the middle, gets to the second level, and gets brought down by Lorenzo Stiles at the Michigan 42. It's a gain of 5 on 1st and 10. 2nd and 5 coming for the Wolverines. Ohio State leads 10-6 with 10:13 to go and ticking in the second quarter.
And Kuzdal has done practically everything you could ask for as an RB3 in this Michigan lineup when your top 2 go out. Just him being able to pick up where they left off and recreate that production has just been huge for Michigan.
It's a handoff once again to Kuzdal, who has a lane, breaks open at the 40, being dragged down by 3 Buckeyes, and finally out of bounds at the Ohio State 36. A wide open lane created by the Michigan offensive line. Kuzdal hits it hard, and the former walk-on picks up a 22-yard gain, and it's 1st and 10 in OSU territory for the Wolverines.
Yeah, Kuzdal doesn't necessarily have the breakaway speed of Haynes or Marshall, but he's shown just quite a bit of shiftiness and misdirection in his cutting backs, cuts to the side.
And the strength, too.
Underwood in the pistol, under 9:30 to play in the second quarter. He'll turn and hand it off to Kuzdal once again, looking for a lane, finds one, and picks up about 2 yards, and it'll be 2nd and 8.
And Underwood still has only attempted 3 passes so far in this game. We've seen how much of a breakout wide receiver that Andrew Marsh has been, the success that he had against Northwestern, that career game. And then we saw him with more production against Maryland, but Bryce Underwood just straying away from the passing game right now.
Jordan Marshall still on the Michigan sideline, looking to stay loose, but no appearance still. 2nd and 8 from the Buckeye 34. Underwood hands off to Kuzdal once again. He charges forward and gets hit hard in the middle of the field, but not until after a gain of about 3, and Andrew Marsh and Jermaine Matthews on the far side of the field had the officials' attention, reaching for their flags, but nothing drawn. It's 3rd and 6 at the Ohio State 32, within range for Dominic Zavada, but Michigan wanting more out of this drive, trailing by 4. 8 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Ohio State leads 10-6. Underwood in the shotgun, sends Klein in motion, now drops back to throw. Fires to the left side. It's caught by Donovan McCulley. Did he get the line to gain? They say yes, he did. And it's a 1st and 10 for the Wolverines. Great throw and catch by Donovan McCulley.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of too high safety looks from the Buckeyes, with both Caleb Downs and Jalen McLean being positioned kind of deeper in the middle of the backfield. So I think that's good decision making from Underwood to just kind of take just that throw to the sidelines and get the easy first down.
Michigan goes tempo and hands off to Kuzdal, and he will gain maybe a yard. 2nd and 9 coming from the Buckeye 25. Michigan with an extended drive, 7:20 to go. Time of possession now exactly even, but as the seconds keep ticking, they keep going in Michigan's favor. Michigan already above 100 rushing yards, with 113 on the game.
And that's exactly what they wanted coming into this game against an Ohio State defense that averages less than 100 rush yards per game.
2nd and 9 from the Buckeye 25. Underwood in the shotgun, trips formation out to the right. Now brings Channing Goodwin in motion. He'll hand off to Kuzdal, makes a man miss in the backfield. He's in trouble and taken down. That'll be a loss of 5. 3rd and 14 coming from the Buckeye 30, and this is now a tall task for Underwood with the 3rd and very long, with 6:30 to go in the second quarter.
And regardless of the looks that the Buckeyes have thrown out with 2 high safeties, 5 total defensive backs, at some point Underwood knows he can throw the ball deep. I think the Wolverines just need to take that chance.
I agree.
Underwood in the shotgun, 2 receivers on either side. Kuzdal, the halfback, takes the snap, drops back to throw, under pressure, fires underneath to Kuzdal, who gets lit up. Arvell Reese, first time we're mentioning his name, but it shouldn't be. Now, star linebacker from Cleveland, Ohio, 2nd in the team in tackles, 10 TFLs, 6.5 sacks. He will be an NFL linebacker without a doubt. Lights up Kuzdal, read the play perfectly, and now Dominic Zavada takes the field for what looks to be a 49-yard try. As long as 56, so this is within his range. Zavada 2 for 2 on the day, but this by far his longest attempt from straight on. Clean snap, clean hold, kick up, and good. Dominic Zavada, confidence restored, drills it from 49, and Michigan cuts the Ohio State lead to just 1. It's 10-9 with 5:24 to go in the second quarter.
We've talked a lot about Zavada's confidence and just getting that back after a very up and down season. You made 3 field goals. You've kept Michigan, initially gave them a lead, now keeping them within just 1 in what is appearing to be a game that could really go anyone's way, and just cap that off with essentially a 50-yard field goal. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. That's what you wanted to see out of Dominic Zavada coming into this game, the biggest game of the season by far, and probably his biggest game with Michigan. I mean, last year when they played Ohio State, the stakes weren't nearly this high, but now this year, like we mentioned before, playoff implications, just Dominic Zavada being able to get that confidence back, but then on that last play for the Wolverines, just the pass rush pressure that Bryce Underwood was under when he stepped back, looking to make a passing play. The Wolverines have been running the ball so much, but then we see Bryce Underwood go to the pass on that third down. And I mean, the pressure he faced just so quick, doesn't even have time to throw the ball, has to force the short pass to Kuzdal, and then Reese just absolutely downs him. And Ethan, like you mentioned, the first time that we're mentioning his name, but I mean, he has been one of the best defensive players for Ohio State. You knew he was going to come up huge in this game.
Yeah, and you're mentioning this Jeremiah Smith touchdown. I want to go back to that because there is turmoil online about.
Is there really?
Call.
Absolutely.
There is almost clear evidence on the replay that and our friends Gus and Joel right underneath us right now on Fox completely agree that it should have been Michigan ball after a touchback at the 25. Instead, the play stands and it's a Jeremiah Smith touchdown for Ohio State. I mean, that's a huge call and a huge swing that could have gone either way. We all agreed that it was very close on the bobble, but I believe they're saying that it should have been ruled a catch, then a fumble, and stepping out of bounds before retaining possession in the end zone, which would mean a fumble out of the end zone, meaning it would have been Michigan ball at their own 25 and no score for Ohio State. Instead, it became 10-6 Buckeyes. Michigan responds with a field goal, cutting the lead to just one. But, I mean, there's so much history in this rivalry with officiating and close calls that could go either way, that can decide games. This is still early in this one, but you have to imagine if this game were to go the Buckeyes' way, that play, that call would be looked back at a lot. We hope it doesn't come down to that.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
You never want a game to come down to a missed call or what could have been, but we all remember 2016. Did JT Barrett get the line to gain? I'm not going to say what I thought, but nonetheless, Michigan will kick off after a 49-yard field goal from Zavada. It's 10-9 Buckeyes with 5:24 to go in the first half.
And that's the only touchdown we've seen so far in this game. Other than that, it's been all field goals for both sides. So for that to be the only touchdown could be huge.
And remember on that Ohio State drive, 3 straight third downs, 2 straight conversions, and then a miss. And on 4th and 5, that was the play that brought that Jeremiah Smith touchdown. And now flags flying as pushing and shoving and words being exchanged between the two sides.
We've noted the chippiness of this rivalry. I do want to note that after the incident that occurred in the flag planting debacle last year, an Ohio State representative attempted to introduce legislation that would ban flag planting in football games. You know, when your rivalry is causing state politicians to get involved, it's making waves. Unless it's the SEC, where state governors getting involved in head coaching searches is just apparently something you take for granted.
It's an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty against Michigan.
That would be the second of the game going against the Wolverines.
And another one against the Buckeyes. The umpire's mic was not on in the stadium, but they're moving the ball backwards. So that means that call was overturned. It was a personal foul on the Buckeyes. It'll be 1st and 10 from Ohio State's own 10 after the penalty. And I keep saying it, but it only adds to this incredible atmosphere, how electric it is in here, and snow is coming down. The original forecast had snow starting only until about 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's 1:30, and it's coming down in the big house.
It knew the game was on.
1st and 10 from the Ohio State 13. Sayin in the shotgun. Takes the snap. Fakes the handoff. Looks for Carnell Tate, who makes the catch. Makes a man miss, and brought down after a gain of 10. They will motion to keep the chains where they are, and it will be 2nd and inches at the Ohio State 22. Under 5 minutes to go in the first half. Sayin takes the snap, fakes the handoff, drops back to pass, got a lot of time to throw over the middle, and it's caught. A huge gain on 2nd and inches to Will Kakmerick.
When you watch Julian Sayin on that, he just has so much time. Time to survey the field, time to take his time.
It's 1st and 10, Ohio State at their own 47 after a 25-yard pickup. Sayin hands off up the middle to Jackson, who has a crease, gets into the 2nd level, picks up a 1st down and more down at the Michigan 37. Under 4 minutes to play now in the first half, and Ohio State moving the ball once again offensively, leading 10-9 in the final 4 of the 2nd quarter. It's 1st and 10 at the Michigan 37.
And if Ohio State's able to have their run game and find those gaps in Michigan's defense and be able to get both passing and running going, I mean, it's going to be hard to beat this team.
Sayin in the shotgun. Takes the snap, drops back to pass, looking deep. Now will fire and out of bounds, incomplete. Michigan, I mean, it's noticeable. Sayin has a ton of time to throw and has no pressure on him when he's letting that ball go. Completely comfortable in that pocket. That time didn't really have an option and sailed it out of bounds, but Michigan needs to get home and disrupt this passing game with the talent of the wide receivers on the Buckeyes.
And what we're seeing on the field may not be surprising with how this pass rush has struggled, but you still need to see a little bit more pressure on Sayin every time he drops back.
2nd and 10 from the Michigan 37. Sayin takes the snap, drops back to throw, fires left to Bo Jackson on a screen pass, and he gets hit after a gain of about 6. They'll call it 5. It's 3rd and 5 at the Michigan 32. We saw Ohio State go for it in this similar territory last time, so you'd have to assume it's 4-down territory once again. We're at 3 minutes to go in the first half. 3rd and 5. The Michigan sideline getting this crowd hyped up and loud. 3rd and 5 at the 32. 2:45 to go in the first half. Sayin in the shotgun. It's Donaldson, the halfback. Takes the snap, drops back to throw. Looking right, finds Brandon Innis over the middle. He's hit immediately after the catch, but it's enough for the 1st down. It'll be 1st and 10 at the Michigan 25. Ohio State picking apart this Michigan defense on this drive.
Their offense really just clicking on all cylinders right now, being able to find different receivers, the tight end, just everyone getting involved on this drive.
That time Derek Moore did get home to Sayin, got a late hit on him, but not until after he had let the ball go for a 1st down. And a timeout called by Michigan just before the 2-minute warning. 2:03 to play. Michigan uses their 2nd timeout of the half. Ohio State still with 2 timeouts remaining. Michigan now with just 1. 2:03 to go in the first half. Ohio State leads 10-9, but they have the ball deep in Michigan's territory. 1st and 10 at the 24.
And the biggest thing you can hope for right now, if you're Michigan, is to hold Ohio State to a field goal if you can. I mean, and we even saw Ohio State, they're going for it on 4th down. Practically every 4th down, they've gone for it. So if you can even get a 4th down and stop them and keep them from putting points up on the board, that'd be huge for the Michigan Wolverines. And we know how good of a 2nd half team they are. So if they can head into the 2nd half with a close score, you know, keep it at 1, keep it at 4, just keep them from scoring that touchdown. And that will be huge for Michigan heading into the 2nd half with just barely 2 minutes left in this first half.
Yeah.
Reminder, Ohio State gets the ball to start the 2nd half. 1st and 10 from the 24, 2:03 to go in the first half. Sayin in the shotgun. Sends Carnell Tate in motion. And now a bunch formation to his right. Jeremiah Smith, the lone receiver, to his left. It's a toss play to Jackson. He scurries past the 15, down just inside the 15, and they'll rule it 2nd down and 1. And that'll be the 2-minute warning.
It should be noted, even in the absence of pressure on Julian Sayin, Sayin has been an elite passer under pressure. He's completed 64.7% of his passes under pressure and is 80% against the blitz. So perhaps it wouldn't be the single factor that shifted the game entirely, but at the very least, you have to think, when you compare the amount of comfort that Sayin has on his dropbacks, whereas Bryce Underwood usually just has had to take, a lane to run just because of how quickly those pockets have collapsed, which has been an issue for the Wolverines this season. They have struggled with pass protection at times relative to how well they've run blocked. I think it's things like that where the game is won and lost, and you have to wonder if that is a significant factor in the lead Ohio State has as of now.
Immediate timeout for the 2-minute warning.
As there's persistent social media uproar over the validity of the Jeremiah Smith touchdown as to whether or not it should have been called back as a touchback.
It will be 2nd and 1 from the Michigan 15. Ohio State marching closer and closer towards the end zone. Michigan with just 1 timeout remaining. Seems like no one can miss a field goal in this stadium today. As a fan in the promotional event, just hit an impressive field goal attempt to win a nice prize for himself. But tension rising in the big house as the Wolverine fans can feel their team falling behind.
Just lighten the mood, just throwing out a question for you two and for anybody here in the chat. Longest possible field goal that you think you could hit under ideal conditions?
Oh, Lord. Well, I used to play soccer, so I would think I'm pretty good. But the longest possible, maybe like 30 yards.
I would say 30, 35 maybe.
I'll lean conservative. I'll say 25.
Okay. I think soccer would set me up pretty nicely.
Jaden and I were soccer players.
We were, yeah. Were you left-footed or right-footed?
Right-footed.
I'm a lefty.
Nonetheless, here we go. Both teams back on the field. A lot of nerves up in this booth. We like to calm ourselves down from time to time.
Yeah, exactly.
As Living on a Prayer blasts through the stadium. Quick tidbit about me, John Bon Jovi went to my high school. We have a wing at the school named after him.
It's a nice little trivia fact.
Sayin in the shotgun on 2nd and 1 from the Michigan 15. Sends a man in motion. Now we'll take the snap. Hand it off to Jackson up the middle. He's got the first down and about 5 more. Taken down at the Michigan 11. It'll be 1st and 10 at the 11 for Ohio State.
With the way Ohio State's been playing so far in this game, you expect this, like any other drive, to be 4th down territory for them. So Michigan just being able to keep them out of the end zone, and ideally for them, keep this at a 1-point game heading into halftime.
Sayin in the shotgun. Jackson the halfback. He'll give it to Jackson. Running right now, cuts back up the middle, charging his way forward after contact. Finally brought down at the Michigan 3. They'll call it 2nd and 1 at the 2. Knocking on the door are the Buckeyes. A minute 13 and ticking to play. You'd expect Ohio State to try and score here with no time. 2nd and 2 at the 3. Sayin in the single back. It's a pitch left to Jackson, and he gets brought down at the line of scrimmage. Maybe even lost a half a yard. And they'll say he did. 3rd and 3 coming at the Michigan 4. A big opportunity for the Wolverines to make a stand for the 2nd time inside the 5. 27 seconds to go and ticking, now down to 25 in the first half. Ryan Day pleading for a timeout on the sideline. He finally gets it with 19 seconds to go. Ohio State still with 1 timeout remaining after just using their 2nd charge timeout. So he'll have an opportunity, if Ohio State were to run the ball here and not get the line to gain, to call his last timeout before you would assume sending his field goal unit out to end the half.
You don't think they go for it on 4th down?
You never know what decision Ryan Day is going to make, but if it were 4th and 3 or longer, I would be surprised if they went all out for the touchdown. Give Michigan an opportunity to have a lot of momentum. A lot of things have been going the Buckeyes' way. To end this first half, I would expect them to take us 3 points and a 4-point lead, instead of potentially not getting a touchdown conversion and giving Michigan something to cheer about, only being down 1. A lot of points left on the board.
Yeah, and to that point, especially with them getting 2nd half kickoff, if they're able to put up 3, go for the field goal, and then take the ball to start the 2nd half, that's an opportunity for 10 points right there if they can go down and get a touchdown in their first drive of the 2nd half.
And even if that 2nd drive ends in just a field goal, that is still a full 1 possession lead that Ohio State would have, the biggest lead that either team has had in this game so far.
They move the clock up by 1 tick. It'll be 20 seconds remaining in this first half. 3rd and 3 looming from the Michigan 4. So there is a world where Ohio State can gain a 1st down and not a touchdown, and that would also bring up an interesting decision for Ryan Day with time ticking and only 1 timeout.
If I was Ryan Day, I would prioritize just taking the field goal to end this quarter, just because I think the fact that Ohio State will have the ball to start the 2nd half just kind of changes the calculus here a little bit. I think if Ohio State had kicked the ball off to Michigan, then I think you could go either way. You could reason it from the perspective of you don't want to leave points on the board and give Michigan the momentum back. But I think a lot has gone the Buckeyes' way in the 2nd quarter, especially as Michigan's passing game they haven't really had much of a passing game to start this game off, and the run game is starting to stall a little bit, especially as Jordan Marshall hasn't played the last few possessions.
Yeah, I mean, the passing game for Michigan is pretty much non-existent in this game right now.
Just 16 passing yards for Bryce.
Yeah, exactly. So only 3 completions for 16 yards, so not a single big play even in those 3 completions. So Michigan just been relying on that run game, and like we mentioned before, we don't really know the status of Jordan Marshall right now. We've seen him on the sideline those last few drives for the Wolverines. They've started going with Kuzdal, so it's a little bit unknown for Wolverines in their running back position right now.
Here we go, 3rd and 3 from the Michigan 4. Sayin in the shotgun. It's Donaldson, the halfback. He's got 3 receivers out to his right, including Innis and Tate. Smith, the lone receiver, out to his left. Innis goes in motion. Sayin takes the snap, drops back to throw, fires on a slant route to Innis, who's in for a score. Touchdown, Ohio State.
Yeah, and coverage on there, just Sayin found a gap that there was no Michigan defender. The Wolverines have tackled well on those short yardage situations here, but Sayin just kind of found a gap where there was no one else and filled it with Innis, a former 5-star who hasn't seen a lot of playing time for the Buckeyes with the amount of highly touted receivers that have come through that program in recent years, but still goes to show the depth that this Buckeyes offense has.
Brandon Innis, his 3rd touchdown of the season. Florida native junior at Ohio State. as fielding is true on the extra point. And Michigan trails Ohio State 17-9.
Yeah, as obviously, it's still just an 8-point game. That is technically a one-possession game, but you have to think if you're Michigan, you have 16 seconds and one timeout to get something done with an offense that hasn't really shown you it can give you much other than 2 home run breakaway plays from the run game. And then if you don't get points here, you turn the ball back over to the Buckeyes with an 8-point lead. And with the way momentum is swinging, this could quickly become not unsalvageable, but ugly for the Wolverines.
I mean, especially if they let Ohio State come out of the second half and get a touchdown. I mean, the Wolverines left a lot of points on the board with not being able to convert any of those field goals to touchdowns. The one that just stands out is that interception from Jair Hill that they weren't able to convert into the end zone on.
Andrew Marsh deep for the Wolverines. Fielding will kick off with just 16 seconds and 1 timeout for the Wolverines. It will go over the head of Marsh, out of bounds for a touchback. And a flag thrown, and that's going to go against Ohio State.
Kick goes through the end zone and will be put in play at the 25. There is no foul.
And the flag gets picked up.
Well,
flag gets picked up, so Michigan will stay on schedule with the 1st and 10 at their own 25. We'll see if they try something here or play a little conservative. It's Marsh and Cusdahl in the backfield with Bryce Underwood. Now he'll send Marsh in motion out to his right. Now sends Marsh back in motion. Hands it off to Cusdahl up the middle and stopped for a gain of nothing. And a flag thrown. After the whistle, clock is stopped at 5 seconds to play. It could get changed, but it's unsportsmanlike conduct on both teams. The first for Kendrick Bell and Jermaine Matthews Jr. So it'll remain 2nd and 10 at the 25. You thought if they could pick up a 15-yard penalty against the Buckeyes, they could have maybe tried to go for something. Instead, the clock will run, and the first half ends. And it appears as though Jermaine Matthews, instead of running towards the tunnel, went and met Rod Moore walking off the sideline. Quickly got rescued by some Ohio State coaches. And we'll head into halftime with Ohio State leading 17-9. It remains a one-score game, but a lot of momentum going Ohio State's way in that second quarter. Remember, Michigan came off to a hot 6-0 start. Since then, it's been 17-3 Buckeyes.
Yeah, and if you're Michigan, obviously, result nowhere close to settled, nor is the lead unsalvageable. But you have to be thinking, in addition to the Jeremiah Smith touchdown, if that flag doesn't get picked up there, the Wolverines have extra downs and a few yards to go. Yes, you only have 2 plays, but it's a situation where you could still get a big gain off and then put Zavada in field goal range. Maybe it doesn't change much in the grand scheme of things, but you'd still have to be left wondering if maybe that one penalty gives you that couple of extra yards you need to get in range and potentially, put something on the board. Instead, the Wolverines are going to finish the half scoreless and are going to turn the ball back over to Ohio State, whose offense has been humming in the last few drives.
Yeah, Michigan yet to find pay dirt, as after what seemed to be an extra long hold on the Michigan team entering the tunnel to give Ohio State some time to clear. Clearly worried about some extracurriculars going on in the single tunnel at Michigan Stadium. Take a look at the first half stats. Julian Sayin, an incredible second quarter. Started the game, I believe, 2 for 5. Since then, he's now 13 of 17 total on the game. Only 1 incompletion, 11 for 12 since starting 2 for 5. And he has 145 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that 1 interception on his second throw of the game. Running back Bo Jackson, 12 rushes for 77 yards, an average of 6.5 yards per carry, something that Ohio State did not get from their 2 NFL running back talents last season, from Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. In the passing game, it's also Bo Jackson leading the way, 3 receptions for 37 yards. Carnell Tate also 3 receptions for 25 yards. Jeremiah Smith, 2 catches, 36 yards and a score, as well as Brandon Innis with that short touchdown catch. On the Michigan side of things, Bryce Underwood only 5 passing attempts in the first half for a total of 16 yards on 3 for 5 passing. Jordan Marshall, 4 carries for 61 yards. Bryson Cusdahl, 10 carries for 38 yards. Underwood, 5 carries, 9 yards. Not great offensive production from the Wolverines. Thus far, all of their points coming on 3 field goals. 1 made from 49 by Dominic Zavada.
And that's the one bright spot for the Wolverines is Dominic Zavada. We talked a lot about him and how questionable he was this season about consistency. He just was not as sharp as he was last season, but proving today that he can be just as sharp as he was last season, especially when we saw him be so clutch in that Ohio State game last year. But you listed out all the Michigan stats there, and they've just had trouble getting this offense going. The 2 biggest plays of the game was that run on the first play of the game from Jordan Marshall for 36 yards, and then the other run by Bryson Cusdahl for 22 yards. Those were the 2 biggest plays of the game for the Wolverines so far, and that's just not good enough. They need to be able to get that passing game going, especially if Jordan Marshall isn't going to play as much in the second half. We don't know what his status is, but he was out for some of those drives to end that first half, and the Wolverines going to Bryson Cusdahl. But then you take a look, you have Donovan McCullough, you have Andrew Marsh, the breakout star freshman wide receiver for the Wolverines, who's had a great season towards this back half. Didn't play as much in the beginning of the season, but now getting a lot more reps in this second half of the season, and he's done fantastic for them. The Wolverines just have to establish that passing game.
Yeah, and this is the first time since the 2019 edition of the game that the Wolverines have left the field at halftime with a deficit. In each of the past 4 years, the Wolverines led or scores were knotted going into the half. And that obviously doesn't mean anything in and of itself. An 8-point lead is still just a 1-possession lead, but you have to wonder, based on the trend of the last few years, that this is maybe not the position that Michigan would have wanted themselves to be in.
The Ohio State marching band performing at halftime. The Michigan marching band will take the field after, as the Script Ohio out on both sides of the field. As now they come to dot the I. A long-standing Ohio State tradition.
Two schools known for their marching band traditions. As we see a litany of holiday-themed characters getting ready to take the field in preparation for Michigan's halftime show, which I believe will be Christmas-themed. Every game this season, all seasons, we see the Michigan marching band go with theming for their halftime shows, and perhaps fittingly, now that the holiday season has, in the eyes of many people, officially commenced with Black Friday, this will be a Christmas-themed show to kind of bolster your spirits after a difficult first quarter for Michigan fans.
15 minutes on the timer. We'll stay with you since we are live on FM. Tuning in on WCBN-FM-Ann Arbor 88.3. We thank you, as well as to those listening in on YouTube. Yes. As the Michigan Marching Band takes the field.
As we see many Frosty the Snowman, we see many gingerbread men in Santa hats. We can see a Christmas tree. We can see Rudolph the red-nosed. We can see a big Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer inflatable. I see a giant Frosty the Snowman. Two Christmas trees in each end zone. My apology.
Michigan Marching Band always does such a wonderful job. But in the game, a lot of momentum for the Buckeyes as they outscore the Wolverines 14-3 in the second quarter, outgaining the Wolverines by nearly 100 yards, 145-16 in the passing game. Michigan outgaining the Buckeyes in the rushing yards category, 108-76. Ohio State with double the first downs that Michigan has.
As you know, Ethan, I guess, what do you think is the one thing that Michigan really needs to do to sort of shrink this deficit and come away with the chance of pulling back the victory?
I think right now they're in a position where it's you have to hold on against this Buckeye team. If the Wolverines are able to get a stop from their defense coming out of the half, that will be huge, even if it's just holding the Buckeyes to a field goal. And then once that offense takes the field in the locker room right now, I am sure that this offense is getting an earful. They need to produce. They need to perform at a much higher level than what we saw in the first half. We saw a few longer runs on the first couple drives that ended in field goals. But 2 field goals outside of being set up in field goal range and not being able to convert for a score after an interception is not enough to beat this Ohio State team. And yes, they are playing the #1 defense in all of college football. But if they want to win this game, they're going to need to find the end zone. And they're going to need to stay in this one, meaning that they can't afford for the defense to come out, give up another score to Ohio State, as it's looked pretty easy on Ohio State's last couple possessions. And then for the offense to not be able to respond in this game, as you mentioned, Vihaan, could get out of hand. Michigan needs to stay in this one and then strike when the iron's hot and be able to produce offensively. On the defensive side of things, they need to be able to get home to Julian Sayin. We've mentioned it a few times throughout the broadcast, but Julian Sayin, who is a pure pocket passer, does not like to use his legs very often and feels comfortable when he's in a clean pocket. Michigan needs to get home, disrupt his timing, make him get out of that pocket, scramble a little bit, and get hit a few times. Make him uncomfortable in the backfield, because right now Ohio State seems to be getting anything they want. The passing game's working, which is leading to these power runs up the middle, gaining 5-6 yards each time for the Buckeyes, and just marching down the field, not being able to get off the field on third down. But if there's anyone that's done a great job of adjusting in the second half and holding opponents that have seen success in the first, it's Wink Martindale, who has been outstanding all of this year and last year for the Wolverines. providing an elite defense that seems to perform at their best after halftime, and that's exactly what they'll need in order to come back in this one and beat the Buckeyes.
Absolutely. I think if you can get, as you said, even if it's just a field goal stop here, that is kind of really what bridges this game turning potentially ugly for the Wolverines, and versus it being something they can still compete in, something they can still win it back in. But I think the defense, despite the 17 points allowed, there have been a lot of good signs out of them. I think tackling for the most part has been strong. There's only maybe been 2-3 missed tackles during pretty much the entire first half. I think they've done a really good job of shutting out the outside of the field. Even on Sain's touchdown throw to Jeremiah Smith, he did have to go deep. I think if there's one area where the defense has stalled, it is getting pressure up the middle, but I do think for the most part that the Wolverines defense has done kind of a lot of what you would expect them to do against such a high-octane offense with so many different playmakers.
And I mean, we saw that flash from Michigan's defense on Ohio State's first drive of the game. We saw, the first pass, we saw Zeke Berry with the pass breakup, and then on the second pass that Julian Sand threw, we saw the interception from Jair Hill. So just Michigan their defense being disciplined on those two plays, and with Julian Sand going to his two favorite receivers, but Michigan being able to hold them off, break up those passes, get the interception. We didn't see them convert a touchdown like we would have maybe liked on that play, but that was huge for Michigan's defense just to be able to hold their ground. And, we kind of mentioned Julian Sand taking a second to settle in. So that's what the Wolverines can hope he comes out of the second half looking like. You hope you can replicate something like that first drive of the game for Ohio State and just be very disciplined on defense, keep them from getting those conversions, prevent them from going downfield, and hope you can come away with no points on the board in an ideal world. I mean, if you're going to have to give up something, you'll take the field goal.
But you don't want to give that up either.
No, you don't. You don't. But if you're Ohio State and if you can come out and, they've been running the ball well. They found that success in the passing game with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. So if you can establish that early in the second half for Ohio State, they look good. Like, they look good to go for the rest of this game. And Bo Jackson's been able to pound the ball down the middle, get yards. So for the Wolverines, it's, doing what you do best in stopping that run game, but then still being able to capitalize on those passing plays. And, Ethan touched on it too. You got to pressure Julian Sand. You cannot give him that much time to throw the ball.
And I think the issue with the inability to get pressure on dropbacks extends also to stopping the run. Even when Jackson has been handed the ball off, there really isn't anyone getting to him in the backfield. When he's tackled, it's when he breaks out of the backfield. The Buckeyes offensive line, going into the game, obviously this is very, very well-rounded team, but if there was a weakness, you could argue that it was that offensive line, which has seen some rotation on that right side. Guard Tegra Shabola has been rotated out a few times this season for the Buckeyes. You've seen, Joshua Padilla or Gabe Van Hinkle come in at that right guard spot. That right side of the offensive line is, if you had to pick a weak spot of the Buckeyes, that's where it is. But the Wolverines, unfortunately, haven't been able to really take advantage of it. You've just seen so many clean pockets, so many clean backfields. And yes, the fact that you're seeing Wolverines defenders make tackles at the line of scrimmage is a good thing. But I think it is a problem that that Ohio State's running backs can get to the line of scrimmage so often without getting tackled.
And with just about 6 minutes left in halftime, you are listening to WCBN-FM-Ann Arbor 88.3. We thank you once again for joining us on FM and both on YouTube. But, I mean, exactly like you mentioned, it's that run game for Michigan. They're a run-first team. We've seen it so many times with this Michigan offense year after year, just, especially with running backs like Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards in the past, and now you have Justice Haynes. Then you move to Jordan Marshall, and now you're moving to Bryson Clusdahl. All of these running backs for Michigan have been able to step up. They just have struggled finding success in this game, and we saw flashes of that run game in the first drive that Michigan had, and then after that it's gone a little bit stagnant. Bryson Clusdahl getting some carries, having some big plays, but just unable to convert into those bigger plays. And then, like we mentioned before, the passing game for Michigan pretty non-existent. So for them, it's getting both of those things going simultaneously. They only have 124 yards of total offense. And it's going to be hard to get back into this game if you cannot get more yards. You can't pound the ball. You need to find those wide receivers, Andrew Marsh especially. I'm just waiting for him to get going because we've seen what he can do this season. But it'll be tough for the Wolverines. A lot needs to go their way in this second half to hold off the #1 team in the nation with the #1 defense in the nation.
Yeah, and I think one of the advantages Michigan had going into this game is, of course, the mental edge. They have won the last 4. They seem to be having control of this rivalry right now. There was a lot of energy in the stadium at the start of the game, a lot of energy from the Wolverines as they took the field and began this game. And it seems like since about midway through the first quarter, the energy has started to shift and has fully shifted towards the Buckeyes to where they have full confidence they can come out here and win this game in the Big House. Michigan needs to gain that mental edge back. They need to get this game back to, even if they're still trailing, to within a field goal, within 1 or 2 points, and keep that mental edge alive that they, no matter what, can come out of this game victorious. It's going to require a defensive stand on the opening possession of the second half, as well as production from their offense. How can Michigan look to get the passing game going, look to get Bryce Underwood more involved? And one thing for certain that is a developing story is the availability of Jordan Marshall. Bryson Cusdall has done a great job of filling in for Marshall, 100 yards and 3 touchdowns against Maryland. But there's a clear difference between the two halfbacks when they're on the field against a defense this good. The former walk-on, 10 rushes for 38 yards. Jordan Marshall has seen limited time, but in his 4 carries that he has, 61 yards on the ground with an average of 15 yards a carry. Obviously impressive. A lot of that has to do with that first run he had at the beginning of the game. But Michigan certainly seems to need number 23 back out there on the field. We'll see if he returns in the second half. But how can Bryce Underwood start to get more involved? How can this passing game start to get going? And how can this 5-star freshman make an impact on this game in the second half?
Well, I think it's a consequence of what I mentioned earlier with the pass protection having been a little bit hit or miss this season. But I do think, to an extent, Underwood has held on to the ball a little bit longer and looked just take a scramble, take a few easy first yards, where he could have still sort of waited for a passing pocket to open up. I do think if Underwood could just kind of go through progressions a little bit quicker, if Underwood could just go through his progressions a little bit quicker, maybe make some releases faster. I don't think it's necessarily the entire issue, but maybe it's one thing that would just kind of make him get a feel for the game a little bit more.
Yeah, and when you talk about Michigan and Bryce Underwood getting that passing game going, it's hard, especially when you have the safeties and the cornerbacks that Ohio State has, especially Caleb Downs, and just being able to find success when that's who your wide receivers are going up against is hard. I mean, Caleb Downs, one of the best defenders in college football, making a huge impact on why Michigan has struggled to get this passing game going. But it's also the point of Bryce Underwood just really hasn't attempted those passes. And that's where you hope to see him start in this second half.
Yeah, I think to kind of draw a parallel between college football and the pros, you've seen a trend in the NFL where passing yardage has started to diminish a lot more from what used to be because of just these 2 deep safety shells being so commonplace. And I think what we've seen Ohio State do is, obviously you have the threat of Downs, who hasn't even needed to get very involved in this game just because his mere presence scares Michigan from trying to coordinate a scheme of deep ball. But Jalen McClain, who joins Bryce Underwood at safety, has also looked very, very good throughout the season. And I think that 2-high safety shell is a trend that you're seeing across multiple levels of football, and I think it's a thing that's almost dissuades Michigan from attempting to scheme up a deep pass entirely.
Here we go, kickoff of the second half. All the questions will be answered in the next 30 minutes of football. Ohio State leads 17-9, and they start with the ball. The Wolverines will kick off. It's Brandon Innis deep for the Buckeyes. The kick is up, and it will be returned by Innis. He starts at the 5, brings it out near the 20, and gets taken down. They'll mark him down at the Buckeye 16, or excuse me, the 21. Far side official had the correct spot. It's 1st and 10, Ohio State.
And this is where Michigan's defense needs to come up big for them.
A huge possession defensively for the Wolverines, and the crowd knows it. 1st and 10 from the Ohio State 21. Julian Sayin, an electric first half in the shotgun. Sends Carnell Tate in motion. Takes the snap, fakes the handoff. It's a screen pass to Jeremiah Smith, who runs into a blocker, now hurries out of bounds after a pickup of 5.
Yeah, it seems like Smith actually ran into one of his own men on that play that sort of dissuaded him from breaking off down the sidelines. But that's, again, a good bit of blocking, on the sidelines, close to the line of scrimmage that you've seen Michigan do. They've just sort of really taken away Ohio State's ability to attack the outside of the field.
2nd down and 6 from Ohio State's 25. Sayin empty in the shotgun. Now brings Jackson behind him in a pistol formation. Takes the snap, hands it off to Jackson, who has a hole and charges forward for a gain of 5. It'll be 3rd down and 1, and a big 3rd down and 1 from Ohio State's own 30. An early opportunity for the Wolverine defense to get off the field. They'll have to stop the Buckeyes from picking up just a singular yard. 13:53 to go in the 3rd quarter. Buckeyes lead 17-9.
Wolverines defense didn't have their best half on 3rd and long in the first half.
Sayin in the shotgun. Takes the snap, hands off to Jackson, and he has enough for the 1st down. Pushed the pile just enough, picks up a gain of 2. It'll be 1st and 10 at the 33.
Yeah, the Wolverines defensive line tightens the gaps there, but Jackson is still going to fight through contact and pick up that 1st.
First and 10 for Ohio State. Sayin in the pistol. He'll check at the line of scrimmage. Now takes the snap, turns and hands it off. It's Jackson, cuts it back towards the middle, spins away from Rolder, and Rolder finally drags him down at the 35. It's a busy pickup of 2 from Bo Jackson. 2nd and 8 at the 35. Under 13 to go now, 12:35 in the 3rd quarter. In the pistol once again is Ohio State. Sayin takes the snap, fakes the handoff, drops back to pass, has Jackson in the flat. It's caught by Jackson, and he gets past a Michigan defender to pick up a 1st down out of bounds near the Ohio State 47.
It's a bit of soft zone coverage there on Jackson. Just gave him so much room on the field. Just go and pick up that 1st down.
And Bo Jackson's been the leading receiver for Ohio State today. 4 receptions for 49 yards.
1st and 10 at the Ohio State 47. Their 3rd fresh set of downs this drive. Sayin in the empty. takes the snap, fakes the screen, now looks towards the sideline, and it's dropped by Max Clare. He had him for what looked like would have been an easy first down pickup just behind number 86, and it's incomplete. 2nd and 10 at Ohio State's own 47 with 11:33 to go in the third.
The snow did start early in the first quarter, but it is starting to pick up a little bit as the game has progressed, to the point that can't necessarily say that it's really factoring into the game yet, but potentially visibility levels on the field could be lower than they are up here.
Sayin in the pistol. Jackson, the running back, 3 receivers to his left. Takes the snap, counter play to Jackson, who cuts it back up the middle, makes a man miss, and dragged down after a gain of 2. It's 3rd down and 8, and here's the real opportunity for the Wolverines. Ohio State been super efficient on 3rd down, 6 for 8 so far today on 3rd down conversions, and this one is as important as ever. 3rd and 8 at Ohio State's own 49. Sayin in the empty formation. Takes the snap. Michigan brings 5. Quick pass to Clare, and he is short of the line to gain by about 4 yards. A convoy of Wolverines joined in to drag him down, and it's 4th and about 4. They'll say 4th and 2. And on comes the punt unit for Ohio State. Ryan Day not taking any chances, trusting his defense, as the Michigan offense has not shown anything to be concerned about up to this point. And will look to pin the Wolverines deep. It's Joe McGuire, the Australian native, to punt. Takes the snap, and the punt, knuckling, drops at the 5 and takes a bounce in the Michigan end zone for a touchback.
And if you're Michigan, that defensive possession just went the exact way that you needed it to go. Only way you could have improved on it would have been, a turn, an interception, or a forced fumble or something of the kind. But Michigan needed to go and get back their momentum, and they stopped Ohio State from driving down the field for a 3rd drive in a row.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you could really ask for from that defense was just to keep Ohio State from putting points up on the board. We talked about it heading out of halftime, but with Ohio State scoring before the half is over and then getting the ball to start the second half, that would have just been a huge hill for Michigan to climb over if Ohio State were to put more points on the board and, extend their lead. But with Michigan being able to keep them off the board, the one thing for Michigan is in this drive, they need to score that first touchdown of the game. They have to. I mean, when you're playing a team like Ohio State, it is so hard to win without scoring a touchdown, and especially with them down 17-9, they just need that touchdown. They need to find the end zone, just get that momentum going. We saw Dominic Zavada get his momentum back up, but now you just need that from the rest of the offense, especially from Bryce Underwood.
Worth noting that Buckeyes drive took a considerable amount of time off the clock. We're already close to the 10-minute mark of the 3rd quarter, and that drive did not feel like it took 5 minutes of clock time, but it did.
No, it really didn't.
This game's still 1 possession. It will take a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, but the Buckeyes lead by 8, 17-9 with 10:07 to go in the 3rd quarter. Taking a media timeout before this Michigan offensive possession. It's Bryce Underwood, a couple warm-up throws and looks ready to go. I will say Michigan tends to, in this game, pull out 1 or 2 trick plays from time to time. If I'm Sherrone Moore, Chip Lindsey, you got to be thinking that might be coming maybe on this drive, looking to get something going, some momentum going for your offense. I would not be surprised if the Wolverines tried for a little bit of trickery here at some point on this drive.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you just want to mix things up with this offense. We've seen them try to pound the football with the running back, with Kuzdal, and it just has not worked out for the touchdown. We've seen them really stray away from the passing game. So if anything, get something to shake up this Ohio State defense, throw them off balance, show them something that they're not ready for. They're ready for Michigan to hand the ball off to Bryson Kuzdal at this point.
It's Kuzdal, the halfback, once again. Jordan Marshall on the sideline still and was in the huddle, but jumps back to the sideline. Underwood in the shotgun. He has Kuzdal and Marsh in the backfield with him. 1st and 10 from Michigan's own 20. Sends Marsh in motion. Out to the right is the lone receiver. Play action. Drops back to throw over the middle, and McCulley makes a jumping grab over 3 Ohio State defenders. This offense needed a jolt, and they just got it on the opening play. A dangerous ball from Bryce Underwood works out for the Wolverines, and they're going tempo to the line. Underwood takes the snap, fakes the handoff, fires in the flat to Klein, who picks up maybe 2 yards. I'll say 1. It's 2nd and 10 at the 46.
I mentioned Michigan's use of misdirection in their offense. That was 2 fake handoffs to start the drive.
What a grab it was by McCulley to set them up near midfield.
Incredible.
Can the Wolverines capitalize? 2nd and 10 from their own 46. Marsh motions into the backfield with Underwood and Kuzdal. It's a handoff to Kuzdal, who gets swallowed at the line of scrimmage, and 3rd and 10 looming.
You really have no choice but to pass and pass downfield on this play.
Yeah, you have to throw the football.
Marlon Klein and Zach Marshall, 2 tight ends, both on the field. Zach Marshall lined up all the way on the outside left. McCulley, the lone receiver, on the right. Marsh in the slot on the left side. Kuzdal, the halfback. Underwood in the shotgun. 3rd and 10 from their own 46. Underwood drops back to throw, fires in the flat to Kuzdal, who dropped. Didn't look like he had much room to pick it up anyways, but on comes the punt unit. Michigan picks up a 1st down on a big throw to McCulley, but other than that, no yardage gained. And Hudson Hollenbeck will punt once again for the Wolverines. Brandon Innis deep. 8:29 to go in the 3rd quarter. 17-9 Buckeyes.
And I was thinking to myself, you couldn't possibly risk a screen or a short yardage pickup where you expect the running back, the receiver, to do a lot of the work on that play call on 3rd and long.
And a botched punt by Hollenbeck. It bounces at the Ohio State 40 and keeps getting better for the Buckeyes. Finally picked up by Marshall. A punt of gaining only about 15 or so yards for the Buckeyes. It'll be 1st and 10 Ohio State at their own 43, and that punt attempt was hoping to set up Ohio State deep in their own territory. Instead, Ohio State with great field position to start this one out right about where they punted from at the end of their last drive.
And just not a great drive for Michigan for their opening drive of the 2nd half. I mean, we saw that incredible catch by Donovan McCulley, and then on that last play where Bryce Underwood looks to go to the short pass to Kuzdal, Underwood had a lot of time on that play. You know, he wasn't being pressured as quick as we had seen in the 1st half. You know, he had some time to throw the ball. You almost thought he might go downfield on the near sideline to Andrew Marsh, who has yet to be targeted in this game. Andrew Marsh out there, but basically non-existent for the Wolverines, and this offense just has not been involved in the offensive play calling so far. And he still remains that way, and then with the botched punt, just gives Ohio State better field position than the Wolverines would have anticipated, but you just hope the Michigan defense can go out there and do what they did in that 1st drive, stop Ohio State, keep them out of field goal range, and ideally stop them from putting points on the board, because this Wolverines offense is just struggling to find the end zone.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Wink Martindale's ability to make, those halftime adjustments. That first offensive position for Ohio State coming out of the half was an example of that. That is what you want to see. But it's just, you can't win this game off of scoring field goals. You absolutely cannot. And I think maybe it's going to have to come from another defensive takeaway that turns into 6 points. But Michigan needs a touchdown by the end of this 3rd quarter if they're going to want to give themselves a chance to claw back into this.
And you say they need a touchdown by the end of this 3rd quarter, but also part of that, they got to keep Ohio State
Absolutely.
off the board.
Michigan not only hasn't scored a touchdown, they haven't seen Ohio State half of the field since the Dominic Zavada 49-yard field goal. And after an unsuccessful punt, to say the least, from Hudson Hollenbeck.
As the ghosts of last season's punting problems for Michigan, as Tommy Doman, who was excellent during the 2023 run to the national title, struggled mightily in 2024. The punting special teams has improved this season, but still shown cracks in what is nominally a flawless unit for the Wolverines, a key part of their identity that they've won games off of for decades.
1st and 10, Ohio State at their own 43 with 8:20 to go in the third quarter. They lead 17-9. Sayin in the shotgun, sends Innis in motion. Takes the snap, fakes the handoff, fires quickly to Carnell Tate on the far side. He'll make the catch and fall forward for a gain of about 6. Call it 7. It'll be 2nd and 3 at midfield.
Big House still packed to the brim, as you'd expect.
Snow has picked up, wind has picked up. Hasn't affected the Buckeyes yet. 2nd and 3 from the midfield. Sayin takes the snap, fakes the handoff, rolls right. Now steps up in the pocket, looking deep. He's got Carnell Tate in the basket. Touchdown, Ohio State, 50 yards, 23-9.
You know, all season long you've seen Sayin throw that deep ball, just not necessarily the craziest amount of arm strength on it, but he just throws that ball so high for the perfect arc for his receivers to catch. Perfectly in step for Carnell Tate as this game is quickly approaching an ugly scenario for the Wolverines.
You talked about Julian Sayin and that deep ball 50-yard touchdown pass to Carnell Tate, one of the ones that was questionable coming into this game, but proves to be perfectly fine for his 8th touchdown of the year.
Fielding will come on for his 3rd extra point attempt today. And drills it through. It's 24-9. Buckeyes lead by 15 in the Big House with 7:35 to go in the third quarter. Michigan offense has been struggling outside of the deep ball to Donovan McCulley to open up the last drive. And this seems to be a do-or-die possession for the Michigan offense.
You're 100% right. I mean, Ohio State has over double the total yards that Michigan has, 312 to 150. Michigan only has 42 passing yards. Ohio State has 224. I mean, the Wolverines, we've talked about it so much. It's like, how much more can you say it? But the Wolverines just have to pass the football. The run game just hasn't been working well. We haven't seen Jordan Marshall come back out. You still see him on the sideline staying warm, but you wonder if he's going to come back into this game. And as of right now, it seems like he's not. And for the Wolverines, you just hope they can find more of that long ball with Donovan McCulley and hopefully get Andrew Marsh involved in this game.
Yeah, Andrew Marsh still silent without a reception. I believe without a target.
Yeah, without a target too.
Or he had one target that was called for pass interference.
I guess they don't mark that on this
but
stat
that does
sheet.
not count as a target.
And now with Michigan is down, effective 15 points, a full 2 scores, you absolutely need a quick drive, and with half of the first quarter already gone, you can't really afford to just run the ball into, just keep running into the offensive line and burn more clock. You absolutely have to throw on this possession, and effectively Michigan has created a situation where if they want to win this game, they're going to have to win as a pass-first offense because every single run takes seconds off the clock. Both teams do still have their 3 timeouts, still middle of the third, so time is nowhere near consideration just yet. But if you do enter a scenario where you keep running the ball and keep burning seconds off the clock, that feeds into Ohio State's hands with a full 2-possession lead. So Michigan has effectively created a situation where they have to win a football game a way that they haven't won one in a very long time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, you know, they rely so much on that run game. But without Jordan Marshall, I mean, you just can't anymore. We've talked about it before. Bryson Cusdall has done an incredible job stepping up in that running back position, but he's just not the same as Jordan Marshall. You can't rely on the run game the same way you can as if you had Justice Haynes or Jordan Marshall. You have Bryson Cusdall now, and you're going to have to play a different game with that offense. And you're exactly right. It starts with the passing game.
And Michigan, obviously, not USC, not Texas Tech, not a Southern or West Coast air raid program. This program's identity has always been to run the ball, even when you had the future greatest NFL quarterback of all time. But something's got to give. The approach has to change somehow.
It's a touchback. And it'll be 1st and 10, Wolverines at their own 25 in a must-get possession. You can see the snow start to take shape on the field.
Yeah.
And it appears Jordan Marshall is back on the field for the first time since early on in the second quarter. For the Wolverines, he's the halfback in the pistol. They'll turn and hand it off to him. Trying to find a hole and drag down at the line of scrimmage.
Jordan Marshall.
No gain, 2nd and 10 at the 25. Closing in on 7 minutes in the third quarter. Underwood takes the snap, fires quickly to the right to McCulley, who picks up a first down. It'll be 1st and 10, Michigan at their own 39. I
mean, huge first down pickup by Donovan McCulley. We need Michigan to utilize that pass, but then you see Jordan Marshall come in. You wonder almost if it's that do or die. You just need that strong running back to come back in.
Underwood takes the snap, fakes the handoff to Marshall. Now looks to throw, fires over the middle, and a dangerous ball intended for Marlon Klein. Incomplete, but Caleb Downs had a good jump on it and broke that pass up. Marlon Klein looking for a flag after the contact from Downs. Could have been a little early, but no call on the field.
We haven't said his name much this game, but that just shows you why we didn't need to.
Underwood in the single back. Hands off to Marshall, who crashes into the line of scrimmage. Gains about a yard, maybe 2. Caleb Downs on the tackle, and it's 3rd and 9.
You saw Jordan Marshall be able to find those cracks in Ohio State's defense in that first drive of the game for Michigan, but has not been able to so far in his first appearance since then in this second half. And, I mean, 3rd and 8, Michigan might need to pass the ball.
3rd and 8, Underwood drops back to pass, looking to throw deep for McCulley. Incomplete, but a flag. Davison Igbinosun, a lot of contact, and that'll be his 2nd pass interference call of the game.
Igbinosun has been one of Ohio State's better defensive backs over the course of the season, but has shown a penchant for penalty trouble. This is not the first game where he's racked up multiple penalties.
That was a pretty easy call for the officials to make. It's 1st and 10, and Michigan is in Ohio State territory at the 44. Underwood in the pistol, Marshall the halfback. Goodwin and McCulley out to his right, Marsh the lone receiver to his left. He'll fake the handoff to Marshall, drop back to pass. Now we'll fire to the flat to Marshall, who couldn't come up with the catch. Dropped. Arvell Reese was right there on the chase. And it's 2nd and 10 at the Ohio State 44 for Michigan. 5:55 to go in the third quarter. Michigan trailing 24-9. No touchdowns to this point for the Wolverines, looking to change that on this drive. 2nd and 10 from the 44. Underwood sends Goodwin in motion. He'll turn and hand it off to Marshall, who gets dragged down from behind by Sonny Styles, the star linebacker. It's a loss of 2, and it'll bring up 3rd down and 12 from the 46. And another 3rd and long Michigan will need to convert on. 3rd and 9 was picked up last time on a pass interference call against Donovan McCulley. Klein in motion. Underwood in the shotgun. He'll take the snap, drop back to pass. Ohio State sends pressure. Throwing to McCulley and just out of reach. Couldn't come up with the pass in bounds. And it's incomplete. 4th and 12, and out comes Hudson Hollenbeck and the punt unit once again for the Wolverines.
Yes, that drive took 2 more minutes off the clock. There's now 5 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, an entire quarter left, and as we mentioned, Michigan now, by now the Wolverines have committed to throwing this football. They absolutely cannot afford to do anything else. And apart from those flickers, you just haven't seen much come that way.
Hollenbeck gets a clean punt off this time, and it's caught and fair caught by Innis at the Ohio State 13 or 14-yard line. They'll mark it at the 14. So Michigan pins Ohio State back in their own territory, and they'll need a quick stop from their defense, down by 15 late in the 3rd quarter. 5:06 to go. And immediate timeout.
Starting to see some snow accumulation here as the Big House turf is now dusted in white.
Victor, the Frisbee dog, takes the field and ready to catch some Frisbees, much to the delight of the Michigan student section. But similar to the Michigan offense, another incomplete pass.
The conditions you're seeing here on the snow are reminiscent of those that we saw here in Ann Arbor in 2021 when Michigan finally bucked the long streak, ended those years in the dark, and won that game decisively, and I think the moment that rebirthed the Wolverines after 2 decades of watching their rivals carry away Big Ten tournaments and Big Ten championships and national championships.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, the script looking a little bit different. There's still plenty of time to flip it, but
I mean, there's 20 minutes left of football. That's enough. You just, at this point in the game, you're putting so much pressure on that Michigan defense. I mean, you're forcing them to basically go 3 and out or just prevent Ohio State from even getting in field goal position. You're just, every single time your defense steps on the field, you're asking them to prevent Ohio State from scoring, which is a tall order for any defense, regardless of how good your defense is. Just having to go out on the field drive after drive and just keep Ohio State off the scoreboard is going to be hard for this Michigan defense. And I mean, it would practically be detrimental for Michigan if they let Ohio State get another touchdown on this drive here.
Another touchdown on this drive here would expand the lead to 22 points. And
yeah.
Stranger things have happened in football. Rivalry games never go according to the script.
No, they don't.
Just yesterday, Georgia and Georgia Tech's matchup, the Bulldogs were heavily favored against a Tech team that has featured a high-powered offensive to poor defense, and Georgia was able to score just 16 points. So, stranger things have happened, but time may just be ticking on a winning streak that has marked an incredible 4-year era of Michigan football.
Here we go, 1st and 10 at the 14. Sayin takes the snap, turns and hands off to C.J. Donaldson. He'll pick up a nice gain of about 8. It'll be 2nd and 2 at the 22. Ohio State will look to use the ground game and churn some clock at this point, up 2 scores. Late in the third, 4:40 and ticking to go. Sayin in the shotgun. Michigan showing pressure. He'll hand it off. That time it was Isaiah West, the freshman halfback. He gets brought down, but not until he picks up a 1st down. It's 1st and 10 at the 25 after a pickup of a little over 2. 1st and 10 at the 24.
Even the raucous Big House crowd, still vocal, but you get the sense that they're holding their breaths almost, waiting for a sign, any sign.
Sayin takes the snap. He'll hand off to Jackson, who gets brought down after a gain of 2. It'll be 2nd and 8. Rayshawn Benny on the tackle.
You mentioned that Big House crowd, definitely not as loud as they were to start this game, especially with a score like that, like you mentioned, basically holding their breath here.
Single back formation for Ohio State. 2nd and 8 at the 26, approaching 3 minutes to go in the third. They hand it off to Donaldson, who charges forward into the second level and brought down after a gain of about 6. It'll be 3rd and 1 at the Ohio State 33.
And I feel like we say the same thing at every 3rd down for Ohio State, but a huge down for the Michigan defense right now. If they can put a stop to this and force Ohio State to punt from their 32-yard line, that's all you can ask for from this defense.
Goal line formation, it's Sayin on a keeper. Does he get there? They'll say yes, just by a few inches. It's 1st and 10, Ohio State, and that clock keeps moving. We'll be underneath 2 minutes in the third quarter by the time this next snap gets taken. 1st and 10, Ohio State at their own 34.
I mean, coming into this game, Ohio State has been one of the best teams at converting on 3rd down in the nation this entire season, and I mean, they're showing that again today.
Sayin in the single back. They'll turn and hand it off to Donaldson once again, who has a lane and brought down after a gain of 6. Marked down at the 41, Brandon Hillman on the tackle. And this Ohio State run game is having their way. 2nd and 3 at the 41, 1:30 to go in the third quarter.
I know we were talking about it a little bit before this game started, but we were saying if Michigan can force Ohio State to go to the run instead of those 2 so successful wide receivers, then they could maybe find some success, but the Ohio State run game has proved that wrong so far this game.
2nd and 3, Sayin in the shotgun. He'll drop back to pass this time. Fires deep for Carnell Tate, and it's just over his head, incomplete, and that'll bring up a 3rd and 3 from the Ohio State 41. Tried to go one-on-one, Carnell Tate on Zeke Berry, but just past his outstretched arms. And this crowd getting involved on 3rd and short.
Sayin still wasn't pressured on that drop back there, just put a little bit too much air on the throw as it sails over Tate's head.
1 minute to play in the third quarter. 3rd and 3 from the Ohio State 41. Sayin in the shotgun, now calls an audible. Takes the snap, drops back to throw. He's got time. Now rolls out. He's got a lane. He's going to pick it up himself. And it's 1st and 10, Ohio State at the 45.
Yeah, and Sayin took that lane to the outside for the first down. A quarter or so ago, that tackle would have been automatic for the Wolverines with the way they were just getting off the line of scrimmage and getting to their reps. And I think, Jaden, to your point, when you ask the defense to repeatedly go 3 and out to even give you a chance at winning, they tire out fast.
It's just a grueling run game from the Buckeyes. And no pass rush getting home has been the story of the day from the Wolverines. 1st and 10 at the 44. He'll hand off to Donaldson, who gets wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage. Jair Hill with the tackle for loss. It'll be 2nd down and 11 at the 43. But that'll be it for the 3rd quarter. Clock hits triple zeros. And there's only 15 minutes of football left. Michigan trailing 24-9. Second and 11 from Ohio State's own 43 coming up at the start of the 4th.
And obviously you would think that the snow plays to Michigan's advantage to an extent, but keep in mind a lot of these recruits may not necessarily come from the Midwest or from colder regions of the country. I think the weather has an effect on players on all ends, and especially when you're dealing with an already tired defense that can't count on the offense to just go and sustain a drive. I think the cold and the snow and the visibility dropping just kind of plays more into their hands.
It's going to take a lot from the Wolverines, especially when you consider in the fact that their offense has done next to nothing. Still no points in the 3rd quarter, no touchdowns in the game. And you're asking on this team to score 2 of those in the 4th to have a shot down 15.
Yeah. And I mean, you're asking them to do something that we haven't seen them do all game. It's a tough task for Michigan, and, you know, down 15, even at this point, you're asking them to score 2 touchdowns, and then you're asking them to also convert a 2-point conversion if they want to tie this game up. And maybe even if you get that first 2-point conversion on the first touchdown you score, then you're asking them, can you score another 2-point conversion if you are able to score a 2nd touchdown? I mean, you're asking this Wolverines offense to do a lot, just like we said, they're asking so much from this Michigan defense too. And when you're asking the Michigan defense just drive after drive to just get that stop on 3rd down, and then you can't, I mean, you're just waiting for that opportunity for Michigan's offense to break through. We have not seen it yet this game. And it's going to be hard. We saw Jordan Marshall, though, come back out for the Wolverines in that first drive of the 2nd half for them. And it feels like Jordan Marshall coming in for them is kind of, you need the win. You need that production from the running back position, and he's the guy that's going to do it for you.
As the Big House bursts into the final rendition of Mr. Brightside of the season, the tradition that has become such an integral part of this program ever since that 2021 loss to Michigan State in the rain, that I think kind of gave rise to the tradition, as the Big House gets that energy pump up that it desperately needs. If the team on the field may not be giving them any signs that things are going to be all right, but the music blaring from the press box, like it does every time out, gets those energy levels back up and gives these fans reasons to hope for something, for anything.
We are just about ready for the start of the 4th quarter in the Big House. Second and 11 for Ohio State from their own 43. There you have it. The final time in the 2025 season, Mr. Brightside erupts throughout the big house, and now time for the fourth quarter in the game. 2nd and 11. Sayin in the shotgun. He'll take the snap, drop back to pass, looking deep, but now we'll look towards his check down. He's got Claire underneath, who picks up a gain of 8 or 9. And it'll be 3rd down and 2 at the Michigan 48. And if you're Michigan, you would have liked to give Ohio State a 3rd and long after getting a tackle for loss on 1st down. But instead, Max Claire in the flat picks up 8 or 9. 3rd and 2 from the Michigan 48. Ohio State perfect on 3rd down conversions this drive. 8 for 11 on the game. Sayin takes the snap, hands off to Jackson, who evades Jashawn Barham, who is in the backfield. He races out towards the 40, now the 35, before he's finally dragged down. A gain of 13 on 3rd and 2. And Ohio State doing exactly what needs to be done to keep this lead from Michigan.
Yeah, and it's those open gaps that Michigan was able to just drop in and get a man to earlier in the game. It just, when your defense is exhausted, it just making that quick change in possession, that little bit of direction, it just becomes all the more harder.
Sayin in the pistol. He'll take the snap, turns and hands it off. It's West, the ball carrier, and he'll get brought down for no gain. 2nd and 10 from the Michigan 35. Your one concern for the Wolverines is you're nearing field goal range for Jaden fielding to extend this to a 3-score lead. The other concern is that the clock keeps ticking down and we're under 13 minutes in the 4th. Empty formation now brings guys into motion. West, the halfback behind Sayin. He'll hand it off to West, who has a hole up the middle, still on his feet, past the 25, and brought down at the Michigan 22 for a 1st down. Anything that this Ohio State offense seems to want, they've been getting.
And I think every single 1st down, every completed pass, every run that's a gain, every missed tackle, this kind of drives home what is more and more starting to feel like the inevitable.
Exactly like you mentioned, Ethan. The problem with that is Ohio State in field goal range now.
Sayin under center. Jackson, the halfback. He'll turn and hand it off to him. Jackson able to pick up about 6, still on his feet before finally getting brought down by Brandon Hillman at the 14. It's a gain of 9, 2nd and 1 from the Michigan 13-yard line. It's a handoff up the middle to Jackson, and it looks like he picks up the line to gain, or does he? No, they'll say it's no gain on the play. That brings 3rd and 1 at the Michigan 13. We're at 11 minutes and ticking in the 4th quarter. Sayin under center. It's West. Donaldson, the halfback, in the backfield. It'll be a QB sneak by Sayin. And he picks up the line to gain. 1st and 10 at the 10 for Ohio State.
And this is the point of this drive for Michigan, where you hope, if anything, that you can hold Ohio State to a field goal or force a turnover. This Ohio State team offense, one hard to force turnovers against. Michigan already has one so far in this game, but another one.
It's a handoff to Donaldson up the middle, forcing his way through contact. Finally down at the 6. It's a gain of 5. It's 2nd and 5 at the Michigan 6.
And Ohio State just taking so much time off the clock, already under 10 minutes left to play in the game.
Exactly right, 9:25 to go and ticking. They'll bring this thing all the way down to inside 9 minutes to play before they snap it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Ohio State, even if it just ends in a field goal, all you just need to do is keep running the ball down at the end of this drive, and you could get away with maybe just 8, maybe even 7 minutes left on the clock for Michigan to score effectively 3 touchdowns.
They hand it off to Donaldson once again. He picks up maybe a yard, and it'll be 3rd and 4 at the Michigan 5, but a field goal makes this lead a lot more unattainable for Michigan, as it would extend it to 18 and a 3-possession game with now 8 minutes and 30 seconds.
It's one of the longest 3rd downs we've seen Ohio State face on this drive. 3rd and 4 for them.
He'll fake the handoff. Sand looking to pass, under pressure, fires it over and out of the back of the end zone. Incomplete. It'll bring up 4th and 4, and a field goal coming for Jaden Fielding, who has been perfect thus far today, let alone just being a chip shot field goal and 3 extra points. But this, another chip shot field goal, I believe even a yard closer than his first attempt. And this one from straight on. Clean snap, clean hold, kick is up and good. And the Buckeyes take an 18-point lead with just 8 minutes and 10 seconds to go. It's 27-9 Buckeyes.
Yeah, just less than 3 hours ago, Jerry Hill had just picked off saying Wolverines had just driven down on their first drive, and you got the sense that maybe things wouldn't go the way seemingly the entirety of the national media landscape expected. But now, with 8 minutes, with a very drawn-out and methodical drive for Ohio State, clock ticks closer and closer to the conclusion that I think Michigan fans are getting closer and closer to accepting.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan hasn't scored since 5 minutes and 24 seconds in the second quarter with that Dominic Zavada field goal. And Ethan mentioned it too. They've barely even touched Ohio State territory. So not even getting that opportunity for more field goals. Those touchdowns, just Ohio State's defense and offense on full display in this game, hoping to get their first win against the Wolverines in a while.
2,191 days the last time Ohio State topped the Wolverines. Seems like that number will be 0 in just a few moments. But that's how these rivalries tend to work. You can never be a dominant force for too long. Ohio State, of course, had a dominant stretch of only losing 2 games in the turn of the century up until 2021 came along. Michigan wins 4 straight, and now it looks like Ohio State will get back in the winner's circle in the game.
As much as you would like it to, nothing good ever really does last forever. After a point, left looking back on what was and just salvaging those memories. This group of seniors, they went into Columbus and won for the first time since 2000.
Yeah.
They lost a heartbreaker in the Fiesta Bowl that year and then came back going 15-0, giving this program its first national championship in nearly 30 years. And then last season, when they were counted out, they went in and won this game again for the third year in a row. And I'm sure after this game, there'll be a time where people can assign blame, do the post-mortem dissection. The Twitter faithful is probably already calling for people to be fired. But I think the immediate aftermath, all this group is going to do is sit back and just mourn.
Yeah.
Kick goes to Joe Taylor, who calls for a fair catch. It'll be Michigan ball at the 25. And with 8:10 to go, the Buckeye special teams unit pumping up the Ohio State crowd that has piled up now in the lower third in the far end zone.
Big House still packed to the brim, still nowhere near close to emptying, but you can, from our view, you could see the student section, you could see some of, you could see the section emptying out, some of whom, like me and Jaden, are walking through that door for the very last time.
Oh, don't even say it. I don't even want to think about that. I'm so sad.
We thank you for tuning in on WCBN-FM-Ann Arbor 88.3 here at the top of the hour. Ohio State leads 27-9 here with 8 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. It's been all Buckeyes after a quick Wolverines start with a field goal, an interception, and a field goal. Since then, Buckeyes have outscored the Wolverines 27-3.
Ethan, as you said, that's just the nature of rivalry. These things are cyclical. Ohio State had its way with Michigan in 2010s. Michigan has had these 4 games. Maybe this is the beginning of a streak for Ohio State. Maybe they take the next 3-4, and the cycle flips back, and Michigan. The Wolverines will storm this field again.
It will be a tall task for the Wolverines. They are a very young team this year, and they knew that going in. They'll have a lot of returning talent coming back next year, as will Ohio State, with Julian Sayin, Bo Jackson, Jeremiah Smith, all sophomores or freshmen. And of course, that game in 2026 will be in Columbus at the Horseshoe. Always a tall order for the Wolverines to walk in there and get a win. Of course, the last 2 matchups have gone Michigan's way, but it was a long time before then that Michigan had won in Columbus. Their lone win before then came in 2011 before the 2021 game, and that game was in Ann Arbor. But one of the reasons a rivalry like this is so great and at the top of all of sport is because both programs are so successful, and you never know who's going to come out on top each year.
Yeah, I mean, the most recent case for that is last year's game. I mean, Michigan not expected to do much of anything in that game last year, especially with, so many questions about Michigan's quarterback. They went through like 3 quarterback changes last season, and then Davis Warren just being able to go into Ohio State, give Michigan the win when no one really expected anything out of them.
Underwood takes a snap, fires to McCulley on the far side, and it was just over his head and almost intercepted by Jermaine Matthews. It'll be 2nd and 10 at Michigan's own 25 with 8:06 to go in the fourth quarter. Cusdahl, the halfback. Andrew Marsh, Michigan's star freshman receiver, still without a reception today, nor a target. Underwood drops back to pass. Under pressure. Now looking to escape, and down he goes. Kenyatta Jackson.
That'll, I believe, be Underwood's second sack of the day.
And that brings up 3rd and 18 at Michigan's own 17. And at this point, the writing is on the wall. Ohio State outgaining the Wolverines 393 to 156. Underwood in the shotgun on 3rd and 18. Drops back to pass. Steps up in the pocket, fires underneath to Deacon Tonielli, who takes a big hit from Caleb Downs. It's a gain of 2, and that's not nearly enough. It's a quick 3 and out for the Wolverines. And
yeah. And with just barely 7 minutes left, I mean, and the amount of time that Ohio State has taken off the clock with their drives, I mean, there's practically nothing left in this game for Michigan right now.
Any 4th and long attempt would simply be prolonging the inevitable.
now you start to see the stadium begin to clear out as a low line drive punt by Hollenbeck. It's fielded by Innis near the 25. He escapes now past the 40 and taken down at the Ohio State 45. A flag down on the field. Holding called on the Buckeyes, so it will be first down from the spot of the foul, which was at the 39, so it's 1st and 10 at their own 29. And a familiar sight that this program saw in the 2010s as the Wolverines just look to drop a game against the Ohio State Buckeyes in their home stadium. The Michigan fans start to clear out, and the Ohio State fans not going anywhere and moving downwards towards the field. A sea of red in the big house.
Yeah, and we had been talking before the game, but just so much riding on this one. Playoff implications for both teams, and unfortunately for Michigan, their playoff hopes will be left with this game, and their chances of making both the Big Ten championship and the college football playoffs will come to an end. But I mean, like we said, this Michigan team is young. We can expect a lot from them in the future, but then on the other side of things for the Ohio State team, I mean, it looks like this team has all of the tools to repeat as national champions.
You said it there. Last year, Ohio State wins the national championship, but there was one blemish on that record, and it was to Michigan in Columbus as 20.5-point favorites. This year, they walk into the big house. They defeat their largest hurdle of the past 5 years and finally beat that team up north. Ryan Day gets his first true win over Michigan, and we saw it to the likes of Jim Harbaugh, where all he kind of needed was one to get some momentum going your way, and we'll see if Ryan Day can continue that. But Ohio State, they'll play next week in Indianapolis against the Hoosiers in what seems to going to be a 1-versus-2 matchup for the Big Ten title, something that Ohio State has not won in 6 seasons.
Yeah, and that's another thing when it comes to Ohio State. Last year we talked about that national championship run. They lost to Michigan and lost their spot in the Big Ten championship last season. They didn't play in that game. So then this season, getting this win against Michigan today, getting themselves an appearance in that Big Ten championship game, gives them the opportunity to check off 2 boxes that they failed to check off last season in that route to a national championship. And I mean, they could go into, winning this game against Michigan, winning the Big Ten championship and having the opportunity to be undefeated national champions this season.
Of course, there's other contenders out there.
Of course.
If the Buckeyes are able to take down the Hoosiers next week, it's going to be tough to say that there's any team in this country that can beat the Buckeyes and stop them from repeating as national champions. As a handoff up the middle to Bo Jackson. Gets stopped for a gain of 1. It's 2nd and 9 from the 30. Of course, there's Georgia, Texas A&M, those teams in the SEC. And still, assuming a win today against Washington, Oregon will be in the mix as well. Yeah.
And the Buckeyes will lose Tate, Downs, and Reese to the NFL draft this year, but Sayin and Smith still have another year left in them. Smith will be joined by the incredibly talented Chris Henry Jr. For Ohio State, the pieces are lining up for an extended run of success, something that they were denied year after year, in part by Michigan.
2nd and 8 at the 31. It's a handoff to Jackson once again, who picks up another 2 yards, it appears. And it'll be 3rd and 6 at the 33. The snow has really accumulated to a layer of white down on the field. And here come the bad blood between these two schools. No matter the outcome, this is what you can expect, a fight after the play. Both teams being separated by the officials, and looks like now we'll finally resume. It'll be 3rd and 6 at the 33. 5 minutes and 32 seconds to go in Ann Arbor.
I think every Michigan fan knew that the run was bound to end. At some point, the Wolverines had gone into this game as underdogs in every single game in each of the past 4 matchups. But there's no point telling the fans emptying out of the big house right now that.
And both teams will alternate unsportsmanlike conducts between Derek Moore and Luke Montgomery, the left guard for Ohio State. Both of their first, even though there's been a bunch of those penalties given out today. 3rd and 6 for Ohio State. And Sayin is in the shotgun. He'll switch the play up. Has 2 receivers out to his right. He'll go towards the offensive line once again. Michigan making adjustments on the line of scrimmage. Play clock down to 6. Now takes the snap and hands it off up the middle to Donaldson, who has room and dragged down just short, they'll say, of the line. It'll be 4th and inches at the 39. And it looks like Ohio State is going to keep their offense on the field for 4th and inches. At their own 38. They've used a QB sneak with Sayin a bunch in these situations. Play clock down to 1. And a timeout called by Ohio State. Trying to draw the Wolverines offside, and they'll take a timeout and most likely send the punt unit out. Even though it is 4th and inches. We'll see what they do coming out of the timeout. For Michigan, they'll most likely now drop to 3 losses on the year, which will eliminate them from college football playoff contention. Their losses coming on the road against Oklahoma, USC, and now at home against Ohio State. And now in 2 seasons of Sherrone Moore football, Michigan has gone 8-5, including wins over Ohio State and Alabama in the ReliaQuest Bowl. And now a 9-3 record awaiting their bowl assignment. But a young team, they'll return a lot of talent next year. Ohio State keeps their offense on the field. It's a handoff up the middle to Donaldson, and he gets it. 1st and 10, Buckeyes. And that first down conversion will practically draw all of the life out of this one, if there was any left.
Yeah.
Underneath 4 minutes to play.
As the student section continues to empty out, even you see some Buckeye faithful on the other end streaming out, knowing that their work is done.
It's cold. Handoff to Isaiah West on 1st and 10, and he picks up about 7. They'll call it 6. It's 2nd and 4 at the Michigan 47.
And that 4th down that Ohio State just attempted, only the 2nd 4th down that they've gone for this game, the first being that 4th and 5 and that 35-yard touchdown pass from Julian Sayin to Jeremiah Smith that caused a lot of controversy, we saw. And we said it would be unfortunate if that ended up being a difference maker in this game, but as we've seen, Michigan not able to find the end zone in this one. Didn't prove to be as costly as we might have thought.
Brandon Innis, Carnell Tate going all the way down to the other end of the field to celebrate with their Ohio State faithful. Second and 4 with 3:26 to go in the 4th quarter. Ohio State at their own 47. I formation, handoff to Isaiah West, the freshman halfback, and taken down after a gain of 2. It's 3rd and 2 at the 49. Michigan using their timeouts now, and that's their 2nd. The Ohio State faithful crowding down in the lower bowl and performing the OHIO chant around Michigan Stadium.
This will be Michigan's first loss at home since their regular season loss to Oregon last season.
And their first loss at home to the Buckeyes since 2019. Third and 3 from the 48. 3:17 to play. I formation once again. Sayin hands it off to West, who swallowed up behind the line of scrimmage, and it's 4th down and 5. Ohio State will bring out the punt unit. Michigan will use their final timeout, trying to salvage any chance they may have.
Michigan just outplayed in all facets of the game today. Just, you know, the Wolverines could have, there's a lot the Wolverines could have done better, but you're facing off against the #1 overall team in the country with multiple future top 10 NFL draft picks, the defending national champion, heavily favored to repeat. Really, there may not have been much more that you could have done.
The punt, a low line drive. Andrew Marsh lets it bounce, and it goes out of bounds at the Michigan 25-yard line. And with 3:05 to go, the Michigan offense takes the field.
Yeah, not much time left in this game at all for the Michigan offense to do anything. We've seen them struggle all game to get down the field, especially though in this second half and getting into Ohio State territory. You can only hope for the Wolverines as Michigan fans out there to just have a good last drive to close out this game.
It's Underwood in the shotgun. Cusdahl, the halfback. Underwood will drop back to pass. Fires quickly to Marlon Klein, and it's caught. Did he maintain possession through contact with the ground? They'll rule it incomplete now. And it'll be 2nd and 10 at the 25. Bryce Underwood, an underwhelming performance in his first appearance in this rivalry. 7 for 15 for 58 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And Underwood drops back to throw once again, under pressure, finally gets it off. Cusdahl in the flat and gets dragged down from behind after a gain of 5. It's 3rd and 5 for Michigan's own 30. Michigan goes tempo. Underwood looking to throw, fires to the flat, no one home. And that's 4th and 5. You'd assume Michigan will keep the offense out there. Fourth and 5 at their own 30. Underwood in the shotgun. Ohio State drops back and plays coverage. It's a quick throw over the middle through the hands of Donovan McCulley. Picked off and intercepted by Davison Igbinosin. And there's Underwood's first interception. A flag flies as the Ohio State defense goes and celebrates with the Ohio State fans.
I mean, it's almost fitting for this to be the way that this game ends. Just Michigan unable to get anything going on offense all day long. They've struggled in the passing game.
Igbinosin took his helmet off, so he'll get the penalty for that, and he's disqualified from the game as that's his 2nd personal foul, I believe.
That's almost the exclamation point on a game that was, for Ohio State, just a thorough victory on all fronts. the field. Michigan failed to score a touchdown in its final Big House outing of the season.
It's 1st and 10, Ohio State at their own 47 after the penalty. Make that the 48. And with 2:33 to go, Michigan with no timeouts, just the 2-minute warning as the only forced stoppage left. You'd have to assume Ohio State, all they need is a first down, and then they can kneel the rest of the clock out. But Ryan Day has been desperate for this win for so long. It's taken a lot from Michigan fans and the media, as well as the Ohio State fans of his own, for his inability to come through in this game. That no more. He leads 27-9 in the Big House against number 15 Michigan in pure dominant fashion.
Yeah, I mean, just Ryan Day finally getting that much-needed win against Michigan in a while. And, I mean, like you said, pure dominant fashion. Ohio State just outplayed Michigan in absolutely every facet of the game today. Offense, defense, just everywhere. I mean, over 400 yards, holds Michigan to 163 total yards. And then the defense, I mean, the interception there, just their ability to not even let Michigan into Ohio State territory for a majority of the second half. An even bigger point of emphasis, keep Michigan out of the end zone for the entirety of the game. I mean, you're not going to beat a team like Ohio State if you can't score a touchdown, and Michigan couldn't score touchdowns today. Bryce Underwood struggled with the passing game, only 8 completions for 63 yards, no touchdowns. And still, once again, I mean, one of the biggest things that I notice is Andrew Marsh not targeted a single time. And, you know, we saw the breakout wide receiver in his game against Northwestern have a sensational performance. And then, just like we've been saying, non-existent in this game, the passing game as a whole for Michigan just really struggled. And, I mean, Ohio State just came into Ann Arbor and completely took over this game after, you know, Michigan was up after those 2 field goals from Dominic Zavada early, but then after that, it's just been all Ohio State in this game.
I believe this will be the first game all season in which the Wolverines have failed to even score a touchdown. Even in 2 other heavy defeats to Oklahoma and USC on the road, the Wolverines still managed to put points on the board.
Yeah.
And the last time Ryan Day won the game, he won it in the stadium in a 56-27, just absolute shellacking of the Wolverines. Helmed by an all-star performance from then Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. And just as the Wolverines streak began in the Big House in the snow, that is how it'll come to an end.
I mean, this place has just become a sea of red. It's everywhere.
It is a Buckeye takeover in the Big House, something that Michigan fans of the past 20 years know well of, unfortunately. And it was a sweet taste of redemption the past 4 years, what felt like Michigan fans had deserved over a long period of pain. And you think the next one won't hurt as bad until it happens again.
Nothing good ever lasts forever, like I said earlier, but you definitely want it to. Michigan, the only consolation is the youth of this group and the cyclical nature of this rivalry means that perhaps for this young class, they may still taste victory against the Buckeyes at some point, but not today.
It's a handoff up the middle to C.J. Donaldson, and there's a lot of extra contact going on after the whistle, especially now that this game is over. You don't want to see any of that. It's 3rd down and 5 at the Michigan 47, a minute 30 seconds left and still ticking. First down, and the Buckeyes would be able to kneel the rest of it out. If not, they'll still be giving the ball back to the Wolverines with very little time left. Not that it means much in a 3-score game. Sayin drops back and hands off. This time it's Donaldson again, who charges forward and picks up the first down, and that'll just about do it. Ohio State 27, Michigan 9. Able to kneel the rest of this one out. We're going to go off of 88.3 WCBN-FM-Ann Arbor. If you want to tune in to the last few minutes of this broadcast, tune in on our YouTube channel, WCBN Sports. And with 38 seconds, it'll just be one kneel down for Julian Sayin in his first start in this rivalry matchup. And that does it. The Ohio State sideline clears onto the field. Celebrating. And you'd have to wonder how they'll react to this one after what happened on Ohio State's field a year ago after the final whistle, as the Buckeyes climbing into the stands with the sea of red. You see a group of Wolverines not going into the tunnels, standing at midfield on the block M, you'd have to assume, as a act of protection.
Yeah.
As essentially the entire lower bowl of the Big House, at least the general admission section, is a sea of red.
Yeah. I mean, completely. You can see Ohio State jumping up to celebrate with their Ohio State faithful that traveled out to Ann Arbor to support them in this matchup.
Only about 3 hours separating the two schools. Plenty of fans making that relatively short trip.
Yep.
The entire Michigan team remains at midfield while the Buckeyes celebrate. In the far end zone.
I think they're going to let them leave the field before they do.
And now the Wolverines being ushered off the field.
As that'll raise the curtain on one of Michigan's most painful defeats of the last few years.
This program's seen a national championship in the last 2 years, a change at head coach, quarterback leaving, a near 500 season, but a win against number 2 Ohio State in Columbus. Now improvement on the record to 9-3 in the regular season, yet not to the standard of what this fan base has gotten used to since the turn of the decade. It makes you wonder what decisions need to be made before next year. We've mentioned it many times already, but a very young team. Of course, Bryce Underwood, with a year under his belt, will have his sophomore campaign. Jair Hill, just a sophomore. A lot of young talent on this defense, as well as Andrew Marsh, of course, the star freshman receiver. Jordan Marshall, also a sophomore. He'll be back next year.
As the Wolverines have been eliminated from Big Ten championship contention, have almost certainly been eliminated from college football playoff contention. The only thing left is for Michigan to await its bowl assignment, as for the second year in a row, the Wolverines will miss out on the college football playoff after a run of 3 straight appearances from 2021 to 2023.
Yeah, and Ohio State has a date with Indiana. And there you see them inching closer and closer to the block M in the middle of the field.
By now, the Wolverines have all but trailed off the field, with Bryce Underwood's number 19 being one of the last numbers you could see as the Wolverines drain one by one into the tunnel.
The sea of red not going anywhere for the time being.
The trademark OHIO chant is deafening, at least relative to their status as OA fans.
Now the Buckeyes being stopped before entering the tunnel. Ryan Day gets his signature win over Michigan. That'll do it for the 2025 regular season. We're proud to have brought you coverage of every single Michigan football game here on WCBN Sports. We thank those of you who have tuned in and week out. It's always a joy to cover this program, and even in the darkest of days, it is great to be a Michigan Wolverine. Standing next to my two seniors, Jaden, Fode, Vihaan, Easwar. This is your guys' final game as students here at the University of Michigan. I luckily have one more season left in me, but you guys have seen some great times in this program at your time here at Michigan, times that a lot of Michigan students can't say the same. However, it ends with an Ohio State victory, 27 to Michigan's 9. No touchdowns in the game from the Buckeyes, or from the Wolverines, excuse me.
Far from the ending that I would like to go out on, but I'll forever cherish the 3 years that I got to broadcast football up from this box. It will forever be one of the greatest honors I've ever had.
And you know, at least we're leaving here with a winning record. 3-1's not too bad. A national championship under our belt, a Big Ten championship too. So, not the worst.
Could be worse.
Could be worse.
Could always be worse.
Not bad. Not ideal, but not bad.
You could be an Ohio State senior who's
You could.
1-3.
1-3, exactly. I mean, it's been fun calling Michigan football. Always fun watching them, regardless.
And I'll also be watching from wherever I am. Of course, Jaden will probably be doing the same.
Oh, I'm going to make a trip to Columbus next year, and we're going to win. Not we. Michigan is going to win.
As well. That'll just about do it from the Big House. We thank you for tuning in to WCBN Sports. Once again, the final from the Big House. Ohio State 27, Michigan 9. Michigan drops to 9-3. And they will await their bowl selection for their final game of the season. Ohio State, a trip to Indianapolis in the Big Ten Championship against Indiana next week. And then the college football playoff ahead of that, looking to repeat as national champions. We will leave you, as we always do, with a good night and a Go Blue.